person. You got the number right, because you are talking to Kid a Dynamite! Dynamite!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of Light the Fuse right here on HackerHamin.podbean.com. I'm your host of the most who lives on the West Coast, your boy, MSG. And I am not alone. I am sitting here in the locker room. I am sitting here with two men combined have over 50 years now of professional wrestling experience. Let's start with the young guy. The guy who's a little bit closer in age to me. He's formerly of OVW, of TNA, of Impact Wrestling, of Ring of Honor, NXT, World Traveler, Mr. Chris Silvio. Sir, welcome back to your show, sir.
I am fired up, man. This is like my third cup of coffee. I've got some new recording equipment here that's kind of been the shits trying to get set up this morning, but it's all good. My homie MSG is going to help me get this figured out. I'm pumped up today, and as you know, we have our homeboy joining us today, so I think this is going to be the best fucking show we've done in many, many, many months, because I got my OG, the Ghostface Killer from the East Coast, Ben Hamin in the motherfucking house. What's up, Ben?
What's up, man? Supreme clientele back in the house, and it only takes one infidels, one kick out, and I put the beating back on you, put the fish hooks in, and let you swing, infidels, because it's Hacker Hamin, it's Big Sil. That's right, at the bada bing here at HackerHamin.podbean.com as we light the fuse and run away on the controlled demolition for AEW. Y'all.
Hell yeah.
Look at Chris Silvio, shirt off, bandana on. We got young Bonesaw here with us, ready to start this show.
Yeah, I just started a new cycle over here, so I got a little bit of bicep coming. Just getting back in the gym, putting a little.
Oh yeah.
My working days in the ring are over, but there's no reason why I can't still look sexy as hell, right, honey?
That's it, man. I've been putting it in too with Stevie Richards Fitness and at Planet Shitless with all the cottage cheese ass grandmas. I did 16 days straight. I'm still going back after this. Probably meet up with Triple D real quick, talk some business, and get a workout in before I come back and produce the Horseman in the locker room. Where we just dropped the new Force Order today, the Impact Attack with Joe Janame and MSG yesterday, man. Some good talk there. And we were just here live a little bit ago. And also Jargo and Stevie came in and did the run in on the Horseman channel here as we're live once again. Yeah, they're doing the postseason football, and I'm pretty pumped because my cousin actually reached out to me, man. He's got a lot of personality. He's got Hamin blood in his veins, so he's got plenty of ball busting to do. But he was a D1 lineman at Hobart, and a lot of guys he played with are in the NFL now, and he saw that we're doing football and he wants in. So he's going to join us for XFL coverage with possibly a 4-man booth of Stevie Richards, Joe Jan, my boy, the Sandman, my cousin here. And who else was going to be? And Jargo. So it could be very football edition here, man.
I want no part of that, but it sounds freaking awesome. I'm not trying to watch any XFL. Hey, what's the deal with Planet Shitness? Do they really give people like pizza and ice cream? I've only been to twice and I snuck into both.
It's only at the first of the month, so there's it's weird how it used to be. They need to change their business model because, the no lunk alarm and kind of like the soft.
Seems kind of prejudice, bro. It seems like you're being kind of a dick to serious trainers.
At the time when they took off, it was like that. It was like no meathead bullshit. So prejudice against the other. But now the Instagram life where everybody is selfied out and showing their fitness has taken over. So it's kind of turned on them completely where instead of no lunk alarm, it should be come over and hit this bitch. If you just did 5 extra reps, big up yourself. You know what I mean? That's what the shit should be, but they'll have to change everything. But it's first of the year. So you got all the cottage cheese ass grandmas and third generationers who have no work ethic because their parents didn't teach them anything to you got to get up and do this every day. They're there now and they'll be gone by February 20th or what have you, you know. So that's what Planet Fitness knows. So when you sign up, if you're not going to really be in there and doing the work for $10 a month, dude, to get massage, like tanning.
Hands-on or like a booth?
No, they have chairs for like really, like they're not great, but like how you be in the mall.
Yeah, hydro chairs.
And they have hydro massage laydowns that are really nice for 10 minutes. And then tanning gimmick, dude. I've spent more than that on one spray tan. So
okay, you guys that work for a news station, I have to fucking run Planet Fitness commercials all day. We're done talking about Planet Fitness. Can we move on?
But
but look, check this out. I want to give our listeners out there a little brother tip on gyms. So over the course of traveling nearly 20 years, I discovered a sure-proof method to get into any gym around the world for free. Okay? There's 2 ways to do this. Number 1, pop in your earbuds, look down at your phone, walk in with your bag like you own the place and been there 1,000 times before, breeze right past the desk, get to the machines and get working out. 99.9% of the time, no one will stop you because you don't look out of place.
Yeah.
Option 2, a little less successful. I'd give this about an 85% acceptance rate. You walk in, say, hey, man, I'm with the wrestling. Don't specify. We got a match here in X town. I just need to come grab a quick workout. I'll put you guys on my Instagram or whatever. Is it cool if I just grab a workout today? Yep, great. Boom, bada bing, free workouts anywhere in the country from yours truly, Chris Silvio. All right, go ahead. I'm ready.
I was also going to point out that just based on my little bit of experience from touring music to get free showers, you can also go for a free drop-in. Hey, you mind if I get a free drop-in? Check out your gym. You don't even have to tell them from out of town. Just want to give it a shot. I'm thinking about getting back in shape.
I had an awesome workout in Louisville with Man Beast's wife, Brittany. She's it was crazy. Like part of Louisville, you know, it's like way back in the burbs, but then it's like this industrial part where it's almost like how OVW is with the warehouses. Yeah. And this girl and her husband own a Muay Thai gym there, man. They had awesome bags, tons of titles on the wall, and a ring in there too. It was all she did was bump fucking Wu-Tang, Jizzer, goes like back to back, Mobb Deep, like right down the 90s hip hop. And dude, we put in a good hour and 10 minutes on the bags with crazy combos. Like by the time she had it all built, we were doing like 15 punch combo, duck cover, come back, lay it in with the legs. It was a damn good workout, man.
Oh yeah, that's dope. MSG, I like that little shower trick, by the way, you corny little son of a bitch. That's a good idea. I'm gonna use that next time I need the funk.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
so what the hell we got going on this show today, MSG? I know we got a lot of news, a lot of awesome shit happening in the AEW world.
Yeah, so I wanted to get to that first before we talked about AEW. Let's talk about right off the bat that broke in the last, 12 hours. AEW has been extended for, I believe it was 3 more years through 2023, as well as they're going to be getting another live television show. Details are scarce on it. It does appear to be, it's going to be another wrestling-based show. Whether that means you put on AEW Dark on there, essentially converting the YouTube wrestling channel, which I don't necessarily think that would be a good idea. Or maybe you do something where you finally start, I don't know, combine the BTE segments into the second show and build character and story there. Let's start with you, of course, Mr. Silvio. What did you think? I mean, have you heard this news as well?
Yeah, you sent it to me yesterday. The awesome thing about it is they're renewed to until 2023, which is great for the business, great for them, great for the fans. Means they're doing something right, despite all of the people I've heard talking so much shit on AEW. They're doing something right. They're building a fan base, so I think that's awesome. I'm a little bit nervous, man, about this second show because it brings me back to WCW. And Matt, we talked about this last week. They have so many things that were some of the great aspects of WCW, but then I see them walking the line on some of the other stuff that brought WCW down. And the OG Eazy-E Eric Bischoff will tell you himself that largely the downfall of WCW came through WCW Thunder. They just started the show. It's not even a year old yet, and they're already talking about adding a second show. They better add a shit ton of production, more production staff, performers. There's going to be a lot of thought put into this. I recommend they don't rush anything out because it's muddy waters, but if they can make money off it and get more content and more views, I'm all for it.
Ben, they had WCW Nitro and we had WCW Thunder. Now we have AEW Dynamite. Are we going to get AEW Lightning?
Ooh, AEW Dynamite. Well, yeah, maybe. I don't know. I agree with you guys that they need to be careful on what they roll out, but is it just going to be AEW Dark, or is that going to continue? Or are they going to go further with that into support? Because like you said, Sue, that's 20 more people, from truck drivers to ring crew to whatever it takes, man, production wise, writers, producers, and then people getting hurt. You got to get more wrestlers, like you're going to start bumping guys and gals out quicker too, especially in that style that they work. So there's a lot of things to be answered with that, sure, but that's all good for wrestling, dude. I mean, that's all good for them. So congratulations. I look at it though, and I go, everyone goes Nitro, Thunder, Raw, SmackDown. What could we do that'd be so different? That's not just a continuation of wrestling. What is not wrestling that they could do that could bring in that could double their viewership? That's a bigger question.
Let Matt Hardy produce it. Just let him do Ultimate Deletion.
Oh yeah, bro. Hey, I want to get into this a little bit more later, but now that you mentioned this, Ben, last night while watching Dynamite, at one point I said to myself, this show is completely different to the Monday night and Friday night show, which is great. That's exactly what it needs to be. It was like watching an alternate universe of wrestling, and I dug it. The show last night was pretty sweet, but I really like that, like you were saying, it has to be different. It looks leaps and bounds different from the WWE product, so we'll see if they can replicate that. But I definitely want to talk about that a bit more as we go on.
Sure. Yeah, I don't want to rant on that either. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, from a production standpoint, I think you guys, are talking about producing a second show. Just to wrap up this topic, there is the potential, though, I think, for the product to suffer, right? Because you're not going to have Chris Jericho probably appearing on both shows, right? And you're not going to have Kenny Omega appearing on both shows. You're not going to have the heavy hitter stars that you're already showcasing on Dynamite, I would assume, on both shows each and every week. So does that second show become more about showcasing secondary talent? What's the possibilities that could be used, do you think, Ben, to potentially, I don't know, escalate or, bring up, other talent?
It's got to me, everything that they are, and I gotta I hate using words like shoot on this or whatever the frig later. There's a big overall thing. We talked about it on Impact about using Wrestle Talk.
Right.
WWE does it in the bubble, and they do it at a shitty level of "you coward." You hear that all the time. Then we were talking about Tessa and her interview with Josh Matthews afterwards, and Josh is like, "Tessa, now that you've vanquished these characters from your life, like." Susie, have you ever said vanquish these characters? I mean, I got big respect for Josh Matthews, but I wanted him to let him have the journalistic hard hit of people were talking a lot of trash on you on Twitter, and they pop up the tweets and what do you got to say to your detractors now that you're the Impact World Champion? That's some stuff where you're on the edge of your seat, not vanquish the characters. So here we have Cody doing more of the same, like I'm reading a Marvel comic, you know what I mean? My point being, all wrestling talk needs to end. Really, I hate to say this because only old school gimmicks like mine should be the only ones to be able to do that, because it's a throwback to stupidity that's not cool. AEW is cool. That's what they have to sell above everything else. And to try and do epic is not what they need. When the Young Bucks were busting balls with, or doing karaoke, just trying to do off things that were outside of the box that got attention on them. That's what we need. I talked to you about my Nick Jackson idea off camera before, right? And
talked about it on camera.
Did we? I've got more to it. But it's things like that are the life and parody. It almost needs to be like a sketch comedy show for AEW, in my opinion. Maybe that's me being biased with comedy, but that plays to their strength to give that diehard audience the inside ribs they want that will eventually translate more into character. You can only do so much with Orange Cassidy in the ring in front of them. In pre-tape, you can do a fuck ton with Orange Cassidy and protect him, make him a star. He only needs to be in certain scenes things going on, and then boom, the camera pans and it's Orange Cassidy was there the whole time, which could raise or height, like small things. Like that show could be more based around that than, crazy fucking spot wrestling.
I agree with you to an extent on that. With the promos, like personally, for my taste, you come from a comedy improv background. I come from a serious wrestling background. So personally, for my case, I wouldn't want to see all comedy, but a good mixture. But what I do want to see is realism in promos, like the things Cody has to say most of the time, things Dustin has to say. Sure. For instance, last night, my girl Genevieve Muscle, shout out, has an opportunity on Evolve this weekend against Natalia Markova. They killed it in Detroit, and they have a rematch. So we were shooting a promo last night, and I'm coaching her through it. And the first take, she says a bunch of wrestling lines, when we meet in the middle and the blah, blah, blah. And I just said, no, just be real. Be you. You're in the gym right now talking about what you do. And she just let what was inside of her come out, and it was fucking great. And once it hits the air, I'm sure people are going to be hyped about that match. That's what wrestling needs more of. I want to try to refrain from burying everything in the world on the show because that's not who I am. I'm a positive dude. But that's the thing I hate most about that other program on USA, not NXT, and the one on Fox, is that it's just so contrived. You never hear anything from the heart. It's a line from a shitty script writer from a shitty fucking soap opera. Yeah. Let these guys talk what's in here. That's why Dusty talk people in a building. That's why Flair talk people in a building.
Kevin Owens is a killer on the mic on improv when you could just get him to go out there and do nothing and like wait for him to react to he'll read the crowd and react, and someone will give him something and then he's off to his best.
Let him go. Yeah.
Not like all of this heavy, just brutal. Like you're handcuffing what you paid millions of dollars for to bring him in, what made him. And then, we broke him into our system, but now we're not getting any of the pure magic that makes him a performer. Like that stuff's rough to watch, man, for sure. I don't want to go in on Cody either, but there's only a couple guys who are truly cool in this business. Susio being one. Moxley's cool. He just has that James Dean cool about him. Jericho has it. Sami Callihan definitely has it. And definitely Cody Rhodes has it, I think. And the Bucks do too, but they're, a package deal. Cody trying to do this, like, it's not talk down to anybody, but once you're trying to do a monologue that encompasses everything, including being whipped 10 times and like all that, like that's a lot. That's just a lot of like what we say in improv, plot heavy stuff that you have to get in. Instantly takes you out of the moment and the connection with the crowd. And to be cool, you need to be connecting with them in the moment. So when somebody does something, you can jab, duck on the mic, and you're not tied to all this other predicated stuff, And that's what I really would like to see those guys cast off, because once they can do that and really have free range, because on the locker room, I just read a clip where Tony Khan says he doesn't want to do that. He wants things to be more open and let guys go talk on the mic. Everything I saw here tonight, though, but that promo wasn't. The Joey Janela promo I saw backstage was not. It was very plot heavy too. Like, so saying one thing to the Southern Miami press versus what happened on the show later that night, I don't think we're there yet. They might have that intention, but that's not what I'm seeing. And I only saw the first hour, so I can't. It's
an interesting take, but don't forget Cody comes from an acting background, so you are going to get a lot of that with him. He wants to be a movie star, like how Dusty wanted to be John Wayne. Yeah. He's Dusty's kid. MSG, what's your take on all that?
Sorry, I got to stop you right there as an actor. Acting in front of an agent is the worst thing you can do. That will cost you more parts when you're trying to be up and above. When we had our first thing, like, this is just my story, but there's plenty of others where, you're acting. David Spade talks about it when he was up for something and he came in and read it like as a radio guy. When we had our first thing with Sci-Fi, hi, I'm Ben Doer, executive producer of Hamin Media. Like, so disingenuous. Just be you. I get it that he likes Marvel, he likes Epic, he likes Green Arrow and all that, and he knows all that shit like the back of his hand. The Stardust promos allowed that. we need to connect with them and be cool, man. Like that's what they need to do and let go of that stuff. Hard to do, hard to find your voice sometimes, especially when you got everybody looking at you. Go ahead, MSG.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree honestly with either of what you have been saying. You know, I acted, you know, on a smaller scale, right? Whether it be through, you know, local theater, high schools, colleges, whatnot. Before my parents moved me up to Montana when I was 16, I had a job and I was just getting ready to secure my own agent. So like, I've kind of have just a little bit tiny understanding of what that is to get started, right? So like, I definitely understand what you're saying, Ben, from the standpoint that when you walk in, when you're talking with the agent, you can't go in and act a fake. You can't go in acting that part that you're trying to get. That's not what they fucking want because everybody else is doing the same shit, right? Mm-hmm. So they want to see something unique. They want to see you fit into this mold, or they want this this part to fit to you, right? It's to merge together.
That's usually what it is can they just see you in there and the way your speech pattern talks and how you interact with people, you know? When you're trying and it looks like acting, you can feel it.
Yeah, I know. I agree with both of you guys. Like the realism seems to kind of gone on the wayside when it comes to the wrestling promos, right? There's no more of that drawing from.
They had that before there was an AEW, when there was just the Elite and they were having fun.
Right.
That's my whole point in this, man. They need to get back to that. This opening match, though, dude, did you guys see Baron Corbin's thing on this?
No.
So that was his comment on that? Like, as I saw the comment, I didn't know there was a direct shot, though, at this.
The absolute direct shot at that, bro.
Let me hear this. Go ahead.
Go ahead, MSG. You got it up there or no?
I didn't have it up because I didn't know that it was a direct correlation.
Baron Corbin tweets out last night, you know, much like the Rip Rogers, rib from the dive spot.
Okay, I have it right here if you want.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. So you can see it. He's throwing up is what GIF is doing. And it says winner gets a title shot. So ... forget covers. Everybody gets pops. Spot, dive, spot, dive, spot, group spot, dive, get your shit in, neckbeards. This is awesome.
Can I have this?
Yeah,
go for it.
Of course.
Number one, what does that do positively for our business?
Nothing.
What does getting on Twitter and shitting on it in a fashion like that get for our business? Nothing. Number two, those guys in the ring, most of them have 2 to 3 times the experience of Baron Corbin. And number three, I've watched a lot of Baron matches. I'm going to put him over. I think he's morphed into a great heel. And he's getting a lot better in the ring. He's probably the biggest.
He's a blue chip athlete, bro. He's gonna get it. He wanted to play football. He played football. He wanted to box. He fucking boxed. Like he's gonna get it.
He's the biggest heel in wrestling. And Hamin, I know this ain't your cup of tea, but I dig this shit. That match they had last night, we could break down the psychology later, was fucking fire. And that match last night was twice as good. No offense, Corbin, because I think you do great, as any match I've ever seen you compete in. So before you start throwing stones and shitting on other people, try supporting the business. If you don't like it, keep it to yourself. There's no reason for you to get on a national platform and shit on our industry, because one day, motherfucker, you might be out of work, and that might be an option for you. Your run ain't going to last forever. I got news for you. Rant over.
Oh, that's spot on. Like, and we saw it earlier with Chelsea Green, who's on, TV now, and kind of is overcoming the Impact thing and going in on Tessa, whether it's true or not. Like, why would you want to bring? There's not any self-awareness of in the industry, I think, of like what heat that can bring on you, and why they just made one of their top heels sell for watching a match without saying it because he had Twitter thumbs and he couldn't just put the phone down, dude.
Stupid. Yeah, I'm hot already about that. I had no idea because I don't follow his Twitter religiously. But I'm fucking pissed off to start the show. Thanks.
So they get him to sell for it, and I get the flying and stuff, but if you actually look at what he says there, he ain't wrong, Jack. Like, it's for the titles, so you want to structure it. And when this is coming off of, remember Jericho had the meeting with, guys, we just need to make sure we get tags over and we'll strengthen up the tag division. How far away from that conversation was this match, dude. No tags, bury the ref constantly. JR is on the mic going, well, the ref they don't need to do this, and he doesn't have control, so it really doesn't matter anyway. He's only in there to take that one bump spot so they can come in and do the steal at the end. Why can't they do things like, all right, the Bucks got to come in, hit something double, and then do that double drop kick, but don't do it in the middle of the ring where it buries everybody just to be a spot so they can cut to some mark going, oh my God, face, Home Alone. Do it in the corner. You throw them in, tag, tag, do the double drop kick. One rolls out, the other guy picks him up, gets heat on him. One way is the right way to do wrestling. The other way is more get your stuff in, bury everything, make everything phony. And then when we're on the outside, dude, and we're doing these multi-person dive spots, one, maybe two, okay. But when we got to do it again and again, and then you're missing people, the dude in LAX, I can't remember which one it was, and he does the James Brown knee on the cell when he wasn't even close, like in there. They're just burying that, all that openly, dude. Everybody's so much better in the ring than that. And why an Arn Anderson can't be given the reins to reel these guys in who are even in the vice president level that are in this match. It really isn't the Baskin Robbins 31 flavors argument. This is like, we thought we were going to get rules. We don't need no stinking rules. We're going to do whatever we want. It is as big and as rotten as we want, enough that a WWE top guy is selling for it. So, you know, I knew all that happened before I watched it, so I wasn't really on the edge of my seat going, what, are you kidding me? You know, because I knew that people were selling already for it. So,
MSG, you're a play-by-play guy. Why don't you take us through this thing and maybe a little of the stats that we have and everything?
Yeah, so as far as AEW is concerned, of course, generally every week I start with our numbers. Last week's viewership was 947,000. They were, of course, within the top 10 of the demographic rating, unlike NXT, who actually wasn't even in the top 50 last week.
5, right?
Yeah, 55. Shout out to Bello, though, in the Next Level podcast. Check that out. He does a great job over there.
Shout out Deeb. She sends her love too, Susie. So does APOC. He wants you to get a hold of him so you guys can hang out.
I will.
Okay. The AEW Dynamite YouTube viewership last week was the most viewed video was Jon Moxley quote unquote joining the Inner Circle, which had about 400,000 views. Their total viewership was at 2.5 million, which was up from about 859,000 views from the week prior. Their least viewed was Spanish God Sammy Guevara taking on Christopher Daniels. And then the average ticket price tonight at the show at the Watsco Center was about $91. Their only competition tonight was, of course, just again, Tucker Carlson and WWE's NXT. So, yeah, the first match starts off with a 4-way tag team bout to decide the number one contender for the AEW Tag Team Championships. We had Hangman and Omega taking on Pride and Powerful, taking on the Young Bucks, as well as taking on the Best Friends. Accompanied to the stage or accompanied them by Orange Cassidy. This match, I honestly liked the match. Like in fact, you talk about you like this show, Silvio. I watched it twice. I watched it last night live, and I even watched it again this morning before we got ready. And I really enjoyed this match in particular. I thought there was a lot of fun spots in the match. I thought I saw a lot of people whining and complaining online. Oh my God, the 8-man, 9-man suplex spot. But the way they did it, they had to get Orange Cassidy in somehow. He was already out there. Thought it was appropriate. It was funny. It was quick. Match might have been a little bit too long, because it did go about 18 to 20 minutes with the introduction there with Justin Roberts at the beginning. Overall, I liked the match, and the winner of this match, we see the dissension breakdown between the Elite itself as Hangman Page tags himself in. And then what was it? I believe Matt Jackson gets thrown out of the ring, and then Kenny Omega and Hangman Page pick up the victory. So they're the number one contenders. They got a little bit storyline coming out of that. They're bleeding the BTO storyline finally into the television with there's this, dissension between Hangman versus the Bucks. Next week, maybe we could see Hangman turning on Kenny. But I liked it. Ben, you're squirming over there and you're smiling. You look like you got something to say, sir.
I'm gonna lay out while you do yours, Ben, and then I'll chip in on it. I'm gonna grab my dog who's whining outside my door. I'll be right back.
All right. Well, I was going to ask you, but I was going to say, this is a number one contenders for tag title, right? And
Yes.
you're doing comedy suplex spots, right?
No, that's a good point.
That's it, right? And I'll say it again for him. So this is a tag team match for number one contenders, right?
Yes.
And you're okay with comedy suplex spots?
No, I didn't like that spot. Introduction to Monroe, the newest member of Light the Fuse. Monroe, say hello to your public. This
Nice.
is Matt and Hamin. Feel free to bite his ass should he ever come over. Okay, can I dig into this?
Please, man.
All right. So first, let's talk about the match itself. I really like the match, and I'll explain why. At the beginning, it was a little unclear to me what the rules were. I wasn't sure if it was elimination or one fall. Matt, were you able to pick up on that right away? What the rules were?
No, I don't think the announcers knew it. I don't even think the ref really knew.
So that's a mark against it. I'll go ahead and give my marks against it first. Then we had one spot where Matt Jackson was on the cell. Then he hit some cool move and got up in the Elite's corner, and he was going to tag him. And I remember saying to myself, well, why would he tag? If his team wins, then, they get the shot. But then they did a reluctant thing, and he looked back, and his brother wasn't on there, and the leader of friends. So at least he tried to do some kind of semblance of psychology. The next thing that got a little funky for me, the Proud and Powerful were working like heels for the majority of the match, which I thought was really cool. And they were taking stuff away. That's what a great heel does. They take away what you want to see the babyface do. But then they ended up doing some kind of awesome double dive thing to a huge pop and pose, and the crowd went banana for him, which is kind of the opposite reaction to when Sammy Guevara does it. So that was a little weird. But let's talk about the good things of the match. One, I remember a few minutes in, I'm thinking to myself two things. Kenny Omega's selling a lot in this match, so he better be going over. And then the second thought was, wow, it would actually be cool if Hangman and Omega go over, and possibly even pick up the tag belts, because they could string this thing out. We've seen that angle before, but they could do it a little different, where they're the reluctant partners, a la Lance Storm, Candido, etc. And there's just a lot of meat on the bone for that. Here's my deal with the match. Those motherfuckers worked their ass off. And this is coming from a guy who's taken every single one of those bumps, who's had those physical matches, the cruiserweight style, the hardcore. I've had every style of match, from a 60-minute chain wrestling match to a fucking death match. I've done every style of match. So as a performer, I can respect the athleticism and the thought process that went into executing all that as flawlessly as it did. I don't think they had one slip up, and if they did, it was hardly noticeable.
Bad. What was dope, which had me popping, was boom, he goes up and hits the Rana, I think, and then Page goes up, and you think he's gonna go hit it, but he goes the other way, and they actually missed it on camera. They showed it afterwards in a replay.
I was going to call that out too. That pissed me off. And I understand it's camera operator. You fuck up. But he was.
No, it might not be here either. Now, here's the other things. I was going to point that out. You got a lot of guys who never worked for TV in this match. And you got to be, if you got something special like that, and now I would say something special to me, that'd be enough for that whole match. Now we're going to get 19 things after that. So that's not as special, but I like the shit out of that. But you got to let the cameraman know before the show, we're doing this, bro. You got to be over there to get the best shot. You got to see in your mind as a worker what it's going to look like on TV. You can't expect a director just to know that you're going to do a switch, Rana misdirection, and it's going to be unbelievable. And then they're going to miss it. And somebody's going to go, fuck, we missed it. Well, we'll get it on replay. But, let's get it the first time. But that's the birthing pains of fucking running a show and getting everybody on the same page. Absolutely.
I don't know. I don't mean to argue with that. As a camera operator, though, I just know he should have been zoomed out a little bit more. He was zoomed in too close to the action. The shot was, in my opinion, was my personal distaste, because had he been zoomed out a little bit more, he could have made that alteration just to shift to the left to get the end of the sequence.
I think he was out of position and he knew it, and he ran to the second spot when they cut back. You go, I know you watched it twice. Maybe you saw something I didn't, but I totally get what you're saying. But Susio and I know, and you've heard me say this, protect your business. That doesn't mean just in the writer room of like, I want to stay strong or whatever. Protecting your business means, bro, I know that Cornbread's on camera 1 and I got Jason Frost on camera 2. And dude, here's what we're going to do. So we can start here and you can catch me here, but I'm going to be over there. So don't get me on the floor cam because I got to sneak, bro. And then when I pop up, I need you here. Okay, cool, man. Thanks. And then when I run by him earlier, I go, spot's coming, bro. So they know what to do. He can eggy him. Like, that's taking care of your business. And I don't know if Paige and those guys with everything else they got on their goddamn plate are talking to those guys to do that. But to any young wrestlers who are on any show, if you're trying to get good footage, camera people, especially amateurs, aren't going to know. So you got to be the director, the writer, and the fucking stunt man who's doing it all. So know that.
My last few go ahead, MSG.
I was just saying, if you come talk to us, we'll definitely make you look good. So go ahead.
We'll make you look belligerent, sexy, however you want to look. My last few takeaways on this. One, I want to talk about Matt Jackson's fire for a minute. There's a thing that I noticed in that match. A lot of baby faces weren't showing a lot of dynamic fire, all the baby faces in that match. And I'm still a little uncertain as to whether Trent and Chucky T are baby faces in the middle. Not sure. Cassidy's obviously a babyface. But go back and watch that match again and watch Matt Jackson at a few precise moments would take the time to get everyone fired up. That's when we would start getting those chants and everything. And he did that great spot where they did all these crazy dives and he fired everyone up, went up top and did one of my old favorite spots where Trent superplexed him onto the group of guys on the floor. And that is a fucking dangerous spot. I love it. It's one of my personal favorites. I did it at a WAW show in England for Paige's family. They did like some awesome pay-per-view that had like Del Rio, Mysterio, just all these crazy random talents from all over the world. And I did that and the guys didn't catch me. And I just remember landing splat, my back flat on the concrete. It hurt so fucking bad. So that's a dangerous spot.
I want to punch you just fucking hearing that. I want to punch you in the fucking face.
Yeah. But I mean, that's what I mean, though. Like, I mean, about the different styles that we work. And though we share a similar brain to the business and psychology, we're two different body types and styles.
On the card. No, it's different spots on the card. You're the one who goes out and works and is expected to do everything from Rey Mysterio to AJ Styles. I'm fucking King Kong Bundy and you know, the Sheik and that's maybe a little bit of modern terror mixed in. That's a far different workload. And these 60-minute matches, every time I hear that, everyone puts that out as bragging. I'm like, you guys suck. I can beat anybody in 12 minutes. Like everyone I've ever beaten. What takes you so long that you can't beat these people in 60 minutes? It's unbelievable.
Craziness.
Same knowledge, you should be beating them in 12 minutes.
That's right. And the last takeaway on this is I think they did the best possible finish last night. Omega and Paige winning is the most interesting.
Yep.
Like any of the other winners doesn't have the same what's going to happen next. I think they need to roll with that and keep going with that story.
I like that because after all the whatever, wrestling aside, whatever your flavor of the month is, that story got over of Matt being like, I got the win and they're elite and they're bros, but hey, they put us together. We're just better wrestlers on a hotter streak right now. And we'll steal one when we can. If we want to get over too, bro, that's how it is. But here's what I took away from the whole entire segment. I don't know if they're on commercial because I got the non-commercial version, no picture in picture.
Oh, aren't you over?
Yeah, I'm over as shit. Did you see him go back and grab the beer out of the dude's hand?
I was going to point that out. So this is on the TNT version? No. On the Fight TV version? Yes, because that was the second time I went back. Okay. Hangman Page is at the bottom. He grabs the beer from the guy in the crowd. They're walking up the entrance, man. Omega takes it away from him, and then Hangman goes right back down from the same guy and grabs another beer.
So there's another person, not even the same. He grabs just another one and walks right by him, keeps drinking it. That was more character and more about their relationship. And I took more away from that than I did anything that happened in the match, more than the finish. That character moment was more important to put those guys together and develop the relationship going forward as Omega's a vice president and the den mother. We've seen this from him. He wants the best for the women. He wants to keep getting over, but he might be stretched thin and he's trying to be everything to everybody. Hangman don't give a shit. You ain't going to stop him. Okay, here's one. We think the ribs in there. Fuck that. I'll go do this too. And that was more important than anything that they did in the Get Your Shit In Fest or the stakes of being number one contenders now.
Great. Yeah, I like the Hangman getting drunk thing. He's a fucking quick drunk. He was hammered by an hour later, so he must have been pounding some booze.
Jack Bull was backstage. Victory.
So after that, we've got Cody. He comes out and he makes his response finally to MJF's request, that being a cage match versus Wardlow, 10 lashings, and live on AEW Dynamite, and Cody and MJF cannot touch until the Revolution pay-per-view. Cody, this is, you guys kind of talked about at the beginning of this show, Cody maybe talking in wrestling jargon here, wrestle speak here. I know I even saw some reactions online from, people who are journalists or writers or wrestlers who have said, I don't like it when, certain wrestlers have to use this terminology, whether it be, he's breaking that wall down, if you will, and it makes it, less realistic. You can sense that it's fake, then it's forced, the vernacular at this point.
What terminology? What terminology is that?
Well, I saw online, people were talking about just the phrases him being a heel and him talking about MJF, him trying to break the fourth wall a little bit and
use insider terms.
Right, use insider terms, if you will.
Who was it? I'm sorry, I missed who.
That was Cody. Cody was in his promo. I'm sorry. So Cody, in this promo itself, does accept the cage match. Apparently is going to take the 10 lashings and won't touch each other till the Revolution pay-per-view. Silvio, what did you think of this promo?
So Cody Rhodes is always fire. Good promo. I don't think it was like one of his best, but certainly nothing to shit on. I thought it was funny. He was dressed like Miami Vice last night. That popped me a little bit. It sounded like he was coming from the heart. Now, I think we're going to run into a little bit of problems as a result of this. I'm cool with the whipping thing. I think that could be pretty interesting. But they've been hot-shotting a lot, and there was another big hot shot we'll get into, MSG, as you run down this card last night. But the Wardlow in a cage thing, we've never seen him before. And we certainly wouldn't want to debut this big monster and have him beat Cody. So how they're going to get themselves out of that cage match without hurting either one. I know I said last week I could see Cody doing some kind of Dusty-esque angle, like when the Andersons broke his leg in the cage. So I don't know where they're going with it, but they're possibly hot-shotting and booking themselves into a corner on this. I've been a booker and a talent, and I know sometimes you have to throw things out there, especially when they're trying to change the world. But I am a little bit concerned with that. Content of the promo is great, but I am concerned with what they're going to do with that cage.
Mr. Hamin.
I was just going to say that I got to give him props, especially with Cody coming out doing the Don Johnson Miami Vice thing. One thing they did really well here that is even an NWA thing. NWA's locked into the Atlanta, whatever, as the nostalgia. These guys are taking the cool nostalgia and making the whole thing look Miami Vice. I thought the show looked so different. I couldn't think of any other wrestling show in a pink and a blue like that. I mean, it looked like 1988, the years I hated, all that shit. I could not wait for the 90s to arrive and hip hop to take over, but they nailed it in a nostalgia looking way. I think they did a great job. What also popped me is here we are, SJW, AEW, and they've got a hot, sexy Miami chick up in a tower, lifeguard tower like Pam Anderson, which I'm all about. Yeah, I'm all about sexy up there. You didn't know that. They cut to her like every other entrance when she came out. And all her thing was a piece of eye candy. You know what I mean?
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, right? but there is nothing wrong with it. But you want to talk about painting yourselves in the corners. That opens you up when you're the forward thinking, the whole thing of objectifying women versus giving women a opportunity to be equals and whatever you want to do. Your audience that they appeal to that loves you for that, when they see that's an opportunity for those crybabies to turn on you and show you how fickle they are. And I saw that coming out of the woodwork a little bit last night too. So interesting choices. I'd rather, excuse me, boys, take it.
So now you want to tell, I understand social justice and I try to be the most considering, loving person I can. But
Yeah.
So now you want to tell a woman that she shouldn't have the ability to show her beauty and be who she is and do whatever she wants. And if that career that she wants happens to be a model, that all of a sudden isn't right. Fuck that. There was nothing sexist, objective about it. On commercials, Calvin Klein guys, you see nice dudes with great bodies and underwear. In the bikini magazines, you see a
the
wide
double
variety.
standard. That's the double standard.
That's fucked. Nobody has the right to tell a woman that she can't do what she wants. If she wants to be beautiful, let her be beautiful. Don't mean you're ugly or a piece of shit. Just don't hate on her. Sorry.
I agree fully. I want to see sexy women, but here's the Rob Van Dam clip where TNA is showing even more sexy, and it's just implied sex. And because you see some butt cheeks on Katie Forbes, who's an Instagram, maybe more bustier and sexy. Not this chick in the chair was hot too. Granted, they're on TV. Here's your social justice. Impact gets pulled from Twitch over. Where are we in this industry as the pendulum swings back? What's Scarlett Bordeaux going to be like in the WWE Women's Revolution? We're going to get back to Andrew Dice Clay. Hickory dickory dock. Oh, she sucked my cock. And get used to it because they swung it back one way and now AEW is even swinging it back. They haven't crossed over to the liberal, like the fully, let's go back to Springer side. But last night was a play back that way, buddy. And then the other SJW thing that's implied, and WWE did this even worse whatever. Slavery. When you whip somebody, slavery is implied. Yes, it is. It absolutely is, dude. I don't care if it's two white guys or what have you, dude. As soon as you say whip, and especially them being the socially more conscious one, it's there, Sue. I'm telling you what it is, brother. I'm not the one saying it's right or wrong or doing that. It is implied and it's there. Same as WWE handcuffing. They handcuff Kofi Kingston, not in regular handcuffs. They get the Django Unchained gimmicks with the goddamn chain gang gimmick. Like, you know what I mean? Like straight slavery shit, bro. So,
well, that's poor taste.
Here's the double standard. How is one implied in poor taste? Because it's on the black guy. However, to me, any whipping thing, I don't give a fuck, dude. I'm the most hot button controversial Islamophobic thing there is. So I come out, I've interrupted the national anthem over 5 times in the middle of it to get my entrance over. I stepped on the American flag and moonwalked on it because it's made in China. I don't give a fuck about controversy. I'm just saying the double standard is real and the pendulum is swinging back and people have painted themselves into a corner that they're going to have to jab out of while they want to get more creative in the sexual time of things.
I could see the putting a African-American man in shackles thing. I think that's a little bit in poor taste. But whipping somebody, look at this way. I'm predominantly Puerto Rican, and any Puerto Rican knows Puerto Rican grandmas and Puerto Rican mamas will whoop your fucking ass when you get out of line. Talk to any Puerto Rican. They talk about getting what's called a pela, which means an ass whooping. It's either going to come with a fucking chancleta, which is a sandal that you get fucking nailed with. They have boomerang accuracy. You can get hit from across the room with this, or a belt.
Silvio, okay? That's your Puerto Rican privilege. Now right. Go ask Party Time. Go ask Party Time what whipping means to them. Whatever those fucking two guys are in AEW.
I know white kids. I grew up in the South in a predominantly Caucasian place. I grew up in the country for the most part. Their white kids got whipped with belts all the time. Like, it has nothing to do with racism. At Chris Silvio, if you want to come at me on Twitter with this argument, I'll be happy to debate this with you.
I get it. In our experience, it is. But as soon as you say that in the crazy white woman world who just want to be victimized of anything, you can't reference that on TV. It is in the conversation, even if it's a small percentage. And if you're trying to be the socially conscious company, that's in a thing that's already a way Memphis Carney Southern stipulation type setup to start with. Why is that one of them in there that would even be able to be talked shit about, like weird decisions, man.
Yeah, and to be honest, the RVD Katie Forbes thing walks that line a little bit. I love RVD. As a kid, he was one of my favorites, one of my biggest inspirations in wrestling. But I don't want to see 50-year-old Rob Van Dam making out with this hot woman around my age.
No, I love it. I love it.
It's not for me. I'm not going to get online and complain about it, but it might be walking over that line. So I can see people getting a little upset with that.
This is what he says. Let's check in with him. Fucking, what are you? You 36 now? 14 years from now, when he's bagging some 28-year-olds and her girlfriend, we'll see how he feels about it then. Well, stay tuned. This will be an evergreen episode right here. The argument isn't the sexuality. The argument is the First Amendment rights of what you can put out there and what corporations are going to say is ability to be censored, even as in a satirical softcore format like Rob Van Dam. That's the bigger argument, where some people are going to be able to get away with it. YouTube already crushed so many people. There's going to be an argument in here somewhere.
Yeah, we might get crushed just for doing this. MSG might want to pull us out of this. SJ might come after us just for this Katie Forbes conversation.
Well, she already kicked me in the balls and took my $5,000 check and left with the Brooklyn Brawler in Chicago. So I feel like I've got a little credit to be able to get over.
Good for you.
I feel like I could pitch, just shooting it and maybe get my way out of it. I'll shoot it. I'll produce it. Rob Van Dam, I'll take care of it.
I'm sure you'd love that.
There was a lot to unpack there, ladies and gentlemen. SJWs, cultural racism there, getting intense here on like the views. But I mean, I agree with a lot of what you guys were, talking about specifically. I think it takes a lot of courage as any human, whether you're male or female, to put yourself out there online or in a public forum where you're potentially naked. Like I don't like to see I think of myself, I'm a okay looking person, but I don't like to take pictures of myself and just, here's what I look like when I'm barely wearing anything. So guy or girl doing that, I think it takes a lot of courage and self-confidence within themselves to get online and do that, and not only take the flattery that you're going to get and the disgusting side of the internet that that comes with it, but you're also going to get people who are going to look at you that, hey, this person's fit, they're sexy, they're confident, they look good, they're an inspiration to other people. So I think women, kind of have to put up with a lot of bullshit that guys don't have to deal with. Some of them do it on purpose. Some of them are going online looking to be an Instagram sexual icon, but there are a lot of women that aren't. They're just looking for self-validation as any human looks for, right?
Nothing wrong with that. A lot of sexy talk on today's episode.
Right? I don't know, man. I got to go back to every housewife got a little hoe in them. Right. My wife's are very highly educated and don't put up a lot of shit. And she goes the other day to me, man, I listened to some terrible misogynistic against women exploitation hip hop, and I love it. She can't get enough of it. Like they love that twerking. I don't give a shit if it's the nuns behind closed doors. They're putting on some fucking some bullshit and shaking their ass with a thong.
You ever seen a nun twerk before? I know you grew up in New York. There's a lot of nuns.
Absolutely. I mean, that's where I got my abuse early on too. So I mean, if these nuns can get their shit in, why can't they? But I'm just telling you,
that's a total SJW red flag.
Well, look, I'm not
edit that shit out.
I'm not denying that women are thirsty. Okay, it happens to MSG all the time. All right, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that in a public limelight, I can definitely understand. The SJWs, right? They're complaining this sexualizes women and this demeans their bodies and this makes them look like sexual objects, and this is going to set a precedence for young boys, and it's okay to look at women like that. I mean, that's
now put on back that ass up, and Susan B. Anthony's out there fucking twerking, brother. I don't give a shit.
I know.
So like. That's the I get it. They got to fight for their rights and they do whatever. And then when they want to be sexual, it's a tough way to go back down the mountain because you gave up that sexuality because you claimed that was what was holding you back, or the men, but you want to empower that as well. Well, don't be upset when we're looking, then you can't have it both ways in the double standards. So yeah, Lasky.
Circling this wagon back to AEW and what we're talking about with SJW and wrestling, and last night in particular, one of the things that jumped out at me, like the opening match that we discussed in length and Baron Corbin shitting on it, I was listening to the audience. And that's what I always say is that the consumers dictate the market. They were having so much fun and they were enjoying it. Regardless of what I think, you think, Baron fucking Corbin thinks, they loved it. Same with Cody Rhodes. He was the whipping, whatever. If people want to relate it to something that it's not, they give the fans what they want. That's why they're now getting this extension on the contract and they're getting that loyal fan base they have, and they now have been renewed for 2 years. Will they be able to keep that? Only time will tell. But that's what I dig about the show in the early part that we've covered so far, is that it doesn't matter what anyone thinks. The people loved it. The people that were there, that's what they wanted to see. Does everyone want to see it? I don't know, but they certainly did.
Here's cool. MJF tries to come up with some of all these gimmicks, right? Cody comes out, Don Johnson, and like whatever, you do Family Feud or something along those lines where he ribs them. So instead of a list up on the board, Cody ribs them. Oh, let's see what stupid stipulation he wants to come up with. Hits the buzzer. Wants to whip me 10 times. 13 people said that, and it flips over. The crowd pops for it. Like, let's make something out of it instead of what it is. Like, they just need a lot of punch ups. And all of my commentary on that is not just on them. That was on the world of everything that's coming back around. So it'll be an interesting ride. But Cody's killing it, man.
So there was a cool production note too. Sorry, MSG, real quick. There was a cool production note I appreciated last night. How Cody pitched to Keith Miller. Is that the guy's name?
Yeah.
Production guy. How he pitched to Keith Miller, and then the stipulations came up on the screen. I thought it was a nice touch, and overall last night the show was well produced. Over the last 2 weeks, they've been improving the picture-in-picture nightmare that they had previously, but I do want to give them props for a solid type production last night. Take it away, Matt.
Well, from one positive note to potentially a negative note here, we go backstage with Joey Janela. He says that 2020 is a new year for him. Says that this is the first time he showed up, gets blowed by his ex-girlfriend. Janela points to the fact out that, of course, the only way she got herself over was by making a name off of him. Now she's got a new boy toy, Kip Sabian, and that, of course, if they want to cross the line and play the game, they can. Janela puts over the fact that next week he's getting a shot against Phoenix. I was talking with William Alicia here in the chat room when we were kind of talking about Joey Janela. He asked me, he goes, do you like Joey Janela? And I said, I don't dislike him. Like, I don't hate the guy. I don't think he doesn't have good ring work, or he's, can't cut a promo. I just haven't seen enough of him to the point where I'm invested to him as a character on television, to where I'm like, man, Joey Janela does some great things. I know Jargo and Vickery like to put over the fact that Joey Janela reminds them of a young Chris Jericho. I don't see that personally. I do. I know. Okay, other people see that. That's fair. That's a fair assessment. I thought this backstage promo with the 90s looking boiler room war zone background that it looked like it was from my 90s video game was interesting. With the light, I like the lighting, but I didn't really like what he had to say. I thought the content was kind of blah.
Yeah, it made me want to work with him, because I see the energy there. There was a lot of nervous, happy feet and a lot of shifty. So the words aren't moving. The body energy isn't backing them. And I got some easy acting tricks that I could work with him to get that out of there. Because I do see that Jericho, WCW, early Ralphus era shit. And I loved Jericho during that time. That's a guy who could take the ring truck guy. We like, look at this crazy son of a bitch, put him in a half shirt, march him out there. And that's what I wanted to see on Nitro more than anything else, dude, was the Jericho segment. So I think you got that. If we see that magic, they should too. And I think Jericho should make him a project of some of those simple tricks to do that, to get him over. I thought his match with Shawn Spears was surprisingly good, based off of knowing him as a death match, doing dumb shit to get his name out there. Then I also got a lot of respect for him because he got his name out there during the WrestleMania stuff by the Joey Janela,
parties.
The video game stuff. I thought his marketing was very good. Anybody who's doing that kind of stuff, regardless what happens in the ring, I know has a mind for the business. So I don't want to write this guy off by any means. I want to see him kind of become something. I don't know if he knows what that is yet. He can be more than just the scumbag, kind of guy. I think there's a lot more there. I think they ended with him and Spears way too early, man. I thought there was a lot of meat left on the bone there.
Before you jump in, Silvio, I just wanted to also point out the fact that I would like to see more of this breakdown of this relationship. I know they're trying to do it, but I want to know why they broke up. Like, what really happened?
Sure.
Why did she jump over to Kip? Because 1 week they were together and the next week they weren't, and that wasn't even really explained anywhere. So bring it to the show, exaggerate it. Give me an understanding. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I want to put Hamin over for something real quick. He mentioned Janela having happy feet. And on this show, we're teaching a little bit. So, Matt, we'll take you to a little bit of wrestling school as well. And for our Hamin team, this is a trick that Hamin taught me in 2007 that I've kept to this day and pass on to my students at my lectures, promo seminars. You don't want happy feet during a promo. You don't want to be pacing back and forth out of range of the camera. You want them looking at this. You want them looking at your eyes, your facials, and your body language. You don't want to be posted up on the ropes unless it's like that Shawn Michaels 97 DX where you're going to make that your mark, like your mark on a stage play, and that's where you happen to chill. That's a mistake a lot of people still make, even on some of the bigger promos in wrestling where they're walking all over the fucking place. So definitely give Hamin a shout out for teaching me that years ago. It's really helped. As far as Janela, man, I like Joey. The promo itself, I like the front end where it got into the realism in it. But then they kind of try to throw in the pro wrestling-ish. Like, he basically said this real promo and then was like, okay, but now we're going to get to the fake stuff. So I thought that could have used a little bit of work. It wasn't bad. It was perfectly acceptable. But I want to see more Joey. I want to see Joey doing the shit that got him over. You remember when he would have his own video editor on the indies, make him all these crazy different videos? Darby Allin has his own videos. Let Janela do that shit. Just let Joey be Joey Janela. And I think he'll get a lot more over. Don't script him. Let him have his own producer. Give him one of your TNT camera guys and let Joey direct it. And if you don't like it, put it on the chopping block. But we need to see that bad boy that came out on the indies, because right now, unfortunately, Joey's just another wrestler on the card, and he doesn't have an exceptional body. He doesn't have any crazy, intangible quality other than his personality. So we need to figure out more ways to bring that to the forefront, and I think he'll do just fine. I would use Joey if I had a major company. I think he's got a huge upside.
Stooge report coming in right now is AEW Dynamite 2023 TNA. We are happy to announce that official Taz has signed a multiple-year agreement with AEW.
Wow.
So,
big news. You heard it first right here.
Yeah.
So he'll probably be a part of that second show, I would assume.
Yeah.
Stage, Miami, Florida. We just head back to the beach, and we get to have a very authentic All Elite Wrestling moment with you. We are here with AEW Vice President Chris Harrington, festively dressed, forgive that. And we're here to officially sign the contract for Taz. Taz, you've seen the contract. Do you have any questions?
I have. My people looked at it. Multiple years in there. Everything.
Right.
The coin looks right. So looks pretty good.
So we'll let Chris sign it first. Make it official.
Wow.
Right.
All right. He's in his own pen.
And then here we go.
Right now, we are listening to him sign the contract.
Looks like I've joined the revolution.
He has signed the contract.
Love it. One right here.
Well, I
Black
can't
ink.
believe it, dude. This is the first contract signing we've seen where a table doesn't get flipped and nobody got punched.
Taz doesn't bump anymore, brother.
Yeah. And if it's FTW, fuck the world. So he does, nobody wants to mess with that guy, right?
Oh, there
Hey.
goes Hamin Media running his Patreon. Maybe we'll see.
Maybe. Hey, MSG, you know something else I really liked about last night? Remember how a few weeks ago I gave you the dive count that was like at 12 and how every match had the same suicide dive? Go back and watch last night's Dynamite, especially the first match. They were doing dives, but they were all different. And
Yep.
I don't know if any were repeated. So it seems like our show might have a little bit of influence. We're not going to get into naming names, but I was contacted by a high-level AEW talent last week that was appreciative of some of the breakdown I gave on their segment and what I could do to improve it. And they sent me a private message thanking me very much and saying, I understand that. I'm going to try working with it. So it turns out the show might have a little bit little bit of pull behind us. But hey, they didn't do 12 suicide dives, and they were all different. I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm. One more thing I wanted to point out about Joey Janela. So when he came in with the bad boy character, him smoking the cigarettes, the shades and whatnot, I really liked it. I was into it. There came a point in time, though, right before the pay-per-view, that all-out pay-per-view, where he kind of, I would say, blew his heat a little bit. There was a video package or a video montage that was put together about a fan who had contacted Joey Janela to help him ask his wife or fiance to marry him. So Joey Janela instantly overnight became a babyface with these fans because he went out and did the whole marriage segment and putting them over. So he kind of killed all his heat. And from then, I've really had nothing to be invested in to Joey Janela. Ben, you talk about killing your heat online all the time. Do you remember that? Or am I off base here? Or?
Well, vaguely, because I thought you were going someplace else. I don't remember that, but if that you feel is something that sticks out to you, I might have just missed it in this, crazy news cycle. But him with shit. Well, so he's a baby face there. Then he comes back with the wife thing. And right before that, wasn't there something where he's like, I'm not coming to the show, where he no-showed? Like there was something travel-wise.
Do a work shoot angle of some kind.
Yeah. So that never really played out either. So some confusion. And now that his ex-wife she's remarried. They're not just together. She's remarried this guy, right? That she's with.
I don't know that.
I don't know. I don't know if I thought they were. I thought she was with Janela.
I thought they were just boyfriend and girlfriend, honestly.
Maybe. What the fuck?
I believe they were.
Okay. But now she's with him, because I was like, if they're married and it's his ex-wife and now she's married to this dude, what are you going to do? Like Lana Rusev type stuff? Like, what is the payoff of putting them in this? He's not trying to get his chick back. His chick pretty much said, you got a small cock and I'm going to punch you in it. Like, what is it to cost his push? Like, what's the business going forward with them for him to fuck up her matches and his matches? And that's why he's the bad boy, because then he don't need to wrestle. He just needs to be a fucking wise ass and pull little stunts that are entertaining.
Yeah.
To your point about the SJW stuff, she gets to talk about, giving him a nut job and having a small cock. How come he doesn't get to call her a ring rat or a whore who's got to jump on a homie hopper? Like, why he should be calling her out too?
Yeah. So, and the whole thing could end in them hating each other, getting so mad, and then they make out violently. Like, that's their whole relationship. Like, they have to be so toxic to each other where it breaks down. I fucking hate you. I hate you too. Like
the Tammy Ron Swanson thing. On
exactly the right Tammy Ron Swanson. Exactly that, bro. It's
a lot of meat on the bone. But circling back, Matt, like to some of the things with Janela that have kind of slowed him down a little bit. You can't forget he also got beaten like a drum on the first leg of the AEW series. So I don't care what anyone says, wins and losses matter. And those consecutive losses did hurt Joey Janela's credibility. So,
well, let's talk about credibility. Next matchup, we had Brandy Rhodes here and Mel with Luther taking on Chris Statlander and Hikaru Shida. Brandy there was some great camera angles with Brandy in the ring tonight. I know a lot of guys in the Hamin Media discussion group were popping for that. This was a decent match. I don't want to shit on this match. I liked it. There was some moments throughout the match that I really liked. Shida hitting a pretty big superplex. Statlander came back with a knee strike and then hit a cover, went for a 1 count near the end of the match. Dr. Luther, I liked that JR and Tony Schiavone talked about him, kind of gave him a background, because that was something I felt that was been lacking over the last week or so, is who is this guy? Where does he come from? So I do like the fact that they kind of gave him, the JR and Tony were giving some insight on that. Winner of this match, though, we do see Chris Statlander eventually kind of getting, back some of the heat that Brandy and Kong took from her last week. One thing I was disappointed was there was no Kong on this show, and she wasn't even included in this at all. Mr. Silvio, what did you think of this tag team bout?
Okay, so on my notes in all cap, I have Brandy is going to wrestle. So let's start from the top. At the top, we had the heels come out, and it was interesting. I wanted, as a viewer, to see. I wrote Brandy is going to wrestle, so I was interested to see what was going to happen next. Then we have Chris Stat come out. She gets right in the ring. She's in their face. Cool. So far, so good. Then Sheeta comes out, and Dr. Luther meets her in the entranceway to prevent her from going to the ring. They start whooping Statlander's ass. Sheeta starts whooping Luther with the stick. So
Maybe.
One point is that's 2 weeks in a row that Luther's gotten his ass kicked by two women, one 98 pounds and then one Sheeta. What's he doing out there? And then she came in hitting the Nightmare Collective with the stick. I know the bell hadn't rang or whatever, but that's potential disqualification right there coming in with the thing. And we go back to the Orange Cassidy match where they did that little thing with the suplex to get the referee to register, not really bump. But they do the suplex with the hands in the pocket. Then the ref gets up, looks at Orange Cassidy, and just kind of ushers him out of the match. Like, you got to protect the rest more, and you got to watch out for that kind of shit. Brandy worked like a manager the first half of the match, which is what she should have done. And I was very happy with it. But then she started getting too much. Brandy needed to run in, throw a couple kicks. They give her one shot to the gut. She runs out. She tags Big Mel. Watch fucking Bobby Heenan in the late 80s, Brandy, so you could learn how to do this. She shouldn't be whooping. At one point, she had heat on Sheeta, I believe, for a minute and a half in the ring. It don't need to be that long. You need to work like a manager. Come in, get your shit in.
She don't need to be hitting spears on people for finishes. It
No.
needs to be Big Mel, tag in, Brandy gets the pin, Brandy's the best.
No.
Brandy number one.
Another note on that match, too, is Mel's performance. I know she is a really good worker, and I don't know if this was first night jitters on this huge national platform, unfortunately, or just the convolutedness of this match and the convolutedness of the Nightmare Collective angle in general. But Mel was a step off on a lot of things, starting as early as a minute and a half in, where she took a funky Rana from Sheeta. She made a lot of Sheeta's stuff look not very good, and she didn't do herself any favors with a lot of her things. So I respect her as a worker. I don't know what the reason was, but I thought Mel was quite sloppy. And midway through the match, I remember writing down, this match is getting Statlander under, which you don't ever want to do. The job, you guys know how I feel about Statlander. She has potential to be the top girl. Run to the moon with her. Thankfully, by the finish, they salvaged it a little bit. But it was all these muddy waters. It's just too much theater and shenanigan involved in letting Chris Stat go out and do Chris Statlander type of shit. It was just a weird match to me. Thank God she went over on the big girl with her finish.
Yeah, no, Ben, what did you think?
Yeah, I'm not a big proponent of this guy who's supposed to be Mr. Deathmatch getting taken out by two 90-pound Asian women. Maybe he's here because that's his fetish. He likes getting hit with sticks by Japanese girls. Like, he can't get off or until that happens, because that seems like to be his Achilles heel that I know about him. I'll have to go back and watch Mel, because I wasn't watching some of the things. I was kind of out of the corner of my eye getting things ready. But I do want to watch her because I know how awesome she is. From what I saw of her, she was protecting everybody more than they know how to protect themselves. When she picks somebody up by their head or their neck, you can see that it's real safe and working, that she's going to get people in there. Maybe on a couple things I missed that were a step off, so I have a different perception of it. But I think she's the most polished girl that they have right now on their roster, based from the shows I've been on with her. I'm not saying on this performance, but what I know she's capable of. I think she could be a star. And absolutely, I agree with you, Sil, on the manager thing. Brandy should not be getting no shit in on anybody wrestling wise. She needs to look like a super sexy star who's cutting heel promos, who, yeah, I'm a wrestler too, but she never wrestles. Comes in, kick, slap a bitch, tag out, big power, come back in, another little chicken shit run thing, get the tag, and that's it, man. And she gets the pin every time.
A few more weird things last night, MSG, and then I'll let you kick it away. So Dr. Luther did the thing at the entrance where he stopped Sheeta. So at one point during the match, well after that, when Sheeta's doing her chair spot on the floor that the referee never stops for some reason, you could see Luther in the camera shot sitting on a chair. Tony or somebody tried to cover it by saying something. Luther is sitting in a chair watching. this woman about to jump onto his team, the Nightmare Collective, and doesn't do anything about it, and it was with the camera shot. So that's just another weird whole plot. But the thing that I took most away from this was it was hot shotting. I thought they wasted, man, they should have built for weeks and weeks and weeks or even months for Chris Stat to get her hands on Brandy.
Yeah, Brandy should not have been in the ring out of the gate.
No.
I agree with you there, dude.
On the back end of the match, Stat hit her with a sweet kick, a clothesline, and then some kind of move. That is a payoff. That's something we build weeks to see. Think about how much more the crowd would have wanted it if every time she went to get her hands on Brandy, something happened and slipped away. Then finally she puts Brandy on her ass. It could have even been the old school thing where she's got to go through the whole Nightmare Collective to get 5 minutes alone with Brandy. Pull her to the post.
The Japanese chick shouldn't even have been in there. It should have been Nightmare Collective versus Statlander. Odds are up, right? Crazy, creepy. I'm gonna touch you, and your sleepy guy jumps up, and fucking that's enough. Based off of Brandy telling him when to do it as the mastermind. Distraction, turn, big Kevin Nash boot from Mel. Statlander's under right there, and Brandy gets in, and it was all her the whole time. You should have joined me more of this. Like, just keeping the torments or not, the opportunity for Statlander to get her hands on her way too much too fast, dude. Way too much.
You know this better than anyone, Ben. You got to protect heel managers. Heel managers shouldn't be bumping around every match, especially with heat.
Brandy didn't get me until we did the flag match.
Yeah.
Right? It was like 8 months. Yeah.
Yeah. And, not a lot of people like the Nightmare Collective thing, but I can say Brandy is getting some heat, so they might as well build to a better payoff.
But do you want to get her heat through that and then show her sexy body? Is that weird too? Like,
I don't want it at all, but they're doing it. So
right.
At least build to a payoff.
You can't be doing both. The fact that you're not showing her sexy is what people will be hot. Be like, I'm too hot for any of you neckbeards to even be looking at. Please avert your eyes from me. You shouldn't be in my presence. It's not, let me show you my ass cheeks, but I'm still a heel when you want to bang me. Like, that doesn't equate, like, in my mind. So, guys, I hate to say this, but I got to jump off Twitch here where you guys can keep going. I got a Vince Russo call coming that I got to return. So this is pretty much what I watched up to anyway, man. So you guys are absolutely killing it. I was going to ask, was there word that they were going to name their other show Light the Fuse, that the second show was going to be called that? I don't know if I imagined that or if that is an actual thing that I heard the second show for AEW may be called Light the Fuse.
This show's getting over.
So we might have to go back to Light the Fusion just so we don't get traded.
Sick off. I mean,
yeah, man, all my love, dude. Thanks for towing the line. And I look forward to hearing the rest of the show after I watch the second half myself, you guys.
Frig off, Barb.
All right, y'all.
Of course, you can check out the rest of the show later on HackerHamin.podbean.com. So my issue with the Nightmare Collective, Mr. Silvio, is that in this particular instance, the only person over in this faction is Kong. Kong needs to be at the center point. Brandy needs to have Kong right in front of her through everything. And I don't think Brandy should have been in the match either. I thought if they were going to do a tag match, it should have just been Kong and Mel. And then with Brandy trying to get, Statlander trying to get her hands on Brandy, right? You mentioned them bleeding out that storyline, eventually when Brandy finally gets her hands on her, I thought it would have made more sense if you had Awesome Kong out there. I don't know if she had any prior restrictions, I know she does other acting gigs as well, other than wrestling, or maybe she just, they didn't have her booked this week. But to me, nobody else in the Nightmare Collective is over as much as Kong is. So I think she needs to be the focal point, front and center, anything that Brandy does in relation to the women's division.
That's the big money match, bro. We've been talking about that for weeks now on Light the Fuse. Is Stat built correctly versus Kong is a big money match. And you can put some kind of stipulation on it, whether it be she gets her hands on Brandy, 5 minutes alone in the ring, she gets a title shot, whatever. So I agree with you to a point there. It's just the Nightmare Collective thing isn't gelling with me. It was a little better this week than the week prior, but still weird. So I want to see them work out the kinks on it for sure, man.
So after that, we got personally, this was my favorite video package of the whole show, was with the Dark Order. So we have the Dark Order spokesman. We're backstage and kind of like it reminded me of like a late 90s, early 2000s Call of Duty war room video game style, right? Where you've got a general or a spokesman standing in front of a projector type screen. He's going through slideshows of potential new recruits for the Dark Order. Talks about Michael Nakazawa, Kenny Omega, Brandon Cutler, and eventually, of course, talking about Hangman Page. I like this. I saw some reports out there online that the voiceover, if you will, of the general could potentially be Raven, which I thought that would be a perfect role for him if he was just doing voiceover. I don't necessarily want to see him be the leader, but he's got a great mind for the business, knows how to effectively eloquent a point, and he's a dark, weird kind of guy. So it would make sense if that was the role he was playing here. But it looks like we kind of got a peek into what Dark Order's going after, and it looks like they're definitely looking to dismantle the Elite itself. That's their focus. What did you think of this package and promotion itself?
This was the best Dark Order piece that we've seen. Had they done more of this, kind of that old school WWF style of 10 weeks of vignettes, I think we might have gotten a complete different fan perspective than we got from the Dark Order, who's caught a lot of shit. And I'll admit there were misses. That one segment we talked about a few weeks ago was as bad as it gets. So this was a great usage of them. I liked what they did. It kind of reminded me like Scientology-esque, but they made it like a little creepier. Like I live here in Florida and we have Clearwater's the Mecca of Scientology. So it looked to me like one of those commercials you see for Scientology. Like, want to know more about Scientology? Want to know how to make your life better? Like it kind of got that vibe, but in a creepy way. So I thought it was really cool, really well done. And what I got out of it is it looks like they're gunning for Paige. And I think the end result of the business with Paige and the Elite is going to end with Paige joining the Dark Order as a front man of some kind.
By the way, for those listening, we were in no way making disparaging remarks about Scientology. Please do not follow me at my house or to my place of work.
No, I live in Florida, man. I'm friends with Scientologists. I like researching that and any other religion. So no, it's nothing disparaging against them. Just look like how they do some of those videos, but they managed to make this like a creepy, like horror movie version of a normal video. But no, I'm friends with a lot of Scientologists in the community. Very nice people. Interesting. That might be a conversation we need to have offline at some point. I'd like to know more. Sammy Guevara. I got research out the ass on that, brother. So Sammy Guevara versus Jon Moxley was next up. Winner moving on to face the winner of Pac and Darby Allin next week on the boat on the Chris Jericho's Rockin' Rager. So this match, I thought, as far as Sammy Guevara, was his best performance we've seen on AEW Dynamite. I also like the fact that they gave him some time with Mox. So Mox, because every match that Mox has had so far in Dynamite has mostly been squash matches. He comes out, dominates you, pins you, and he gets the hell out of there. So this was one of his first matches on TV for Dynamite where somebody was kind of there to go back and forth with him toe to toe. So they definitely made Sammy Guevara look a little bit stronger in this match. Ultimately, I liked the finish as Guevara, he headed to the top rope. He came off for a moonsault. They did an out of nowhere pinfall or an out of nowhere submission in this case. And to me, it actually felt organic. It felt out of nowhere. It wasn't, you're up, you got to roll up pin again. No, Guevara went for the moonsault, misses it, and he falls right into the rear naked choke and taps out. I like this match. I didn't think it went too long either, and I thought there were some things I want to talk about afterwards I didn't like. But what did you think of the match itself? I love Sammy. I've been putting him over for weeks. I love Moxley. The match didn't really gel with me, and I'll explain why. I did love how Sammy's gimmick is becoming the picture-in-picture guy with the flashcards. That's beautiful. I love how that's becoming his thing. Awesome. His character is great. His work is great. Here's why the match didn't resonate with me. So since October 2nd was the first Dynamite, is that right?
Yeah.
Since October 2nd, we've seen Sammy Guevara getting bounced around like a basketball. He's been the bumping heel. He can do some cool offense, but he's just been getting bumped around, taking 20 bumps a match. If somebody slips on something or he cheats, then Sammy will get one of his things in. Moxley was very, very, very giving in this match, and I think maybe a little too giving for someone in his position. Remember a few weeks ago, we talked about how he took more of the match with Trent because he needed a strong win. This was kind of the opposite. I think Sammy has never been an equal competitor with these guys. He's been a little shithead, chicken shit heel, and it's been working and great. But yesterday they had a match as if they were both on the same level. And I think you have to build to something like that with Sammy, where over weeks he gets a little more in, and the announcers can say, man, we could really see Sammy improve, and Chris Jericho has really been teaching this guy some stuff. And then maybe a year, 6 months down the line, we could have had that match. But I thought Mox was selling way too much. At one point, Sammy was doing the Jenna Van Muscle spot of the squats and then into the Samoan drop. And Moxley's just laying there. The John Moxley I know and I've seen on AEW TV would have been elbowing out of that. He wouldn't have been laying on Guevara's shoulders while he does all this shit. Sammy did a lot of moves. What I like about Sammy is like he'll cheat and then he'll get one of his cool things in and get booed. But Sammy had a lot of offense, and some of it wasn't in line with how he's been getting his offense in recently. Like the front end, he did a lot of cool shit where he would do something athletic and then turn around and get bumped. That's what a great athletic heel does. This was taught to me by Rip Rogers. So the baby faces are the star and the heel's the co-star. You shine the baby face. That's your job as a heel. But you also want to do what you do best. So Sammy's athletic, so he should be doing his flips and everything, but it turns around on him. Like at one point he did a cool spot where he went up to the top, jumped off, and went to slap Mox, but Mox slapped him instead. So that was cool. But it was just a little strange to me that Sammy took that much of the match. And then he slipped over, like we were talking about with Cody and Darby. Like I thought Cody should have beat Darby with Crossroads. He caught Sammy in a move. I don't think he should have caught him. I think he should have won with his finish. It should have been a decisive comeback into the finish.
I mean, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. I can understand what you're saying, that you'd like to see more of a slow build for Sammy, and they might have accelerated or at least he might have accelerated himself a little bit too much in this match. And Mox itself, being a veteran, maybe should have had some more awareness to say, I shouldn't be doing maybe this much work for you at this point, right? You shouldn't be 50-50 in this match.
Moxley must really like Sammy, or somebody in management is giving instructions. Hey, Sammy's been getting over. We're going to make him stronger. But one of those two things happened, because Sammy went from being the bump guy to wrestling an even match. And in that match too, Moxley worked like a wrestler. He was working like that in fast-paced style. He wasn't being Mox. Like at one point, Sammy threw a bucket of popcorn in his face on the floor, and Moxley gets up and starts doing forearms and then gets thrown into the post. Like the Moxley character, you throw a bucket of popcorn in his face, no matter what's happening, he's going to come at you putting his fist down your throat. So for whatever reason in that match, I don't know if he thinks it's what the fans want, but Moxley tried to have more of a pro wrestling modern match instead of being the ass kicker John Moxley. It was just a little interesting decision for me, and I don't know if you caught that or not.
No, I did catch that, and it's something that I've also, and I'm not going to just throw him under the bus because I love the guy and we bicker back and forth, but Rick Vickery likes to point out to me that John Moxley, that what we're seeing on AEW, has no resemblance to the Dean Ambrose we saw in WWE. And I disagree with him at times. And this is a case in point tonight where this was more Dean Ambrose pro wrestler than actual John Moxley. Because when I watch John Moxley in New Japan, that's John Moxley. You know what I'm saying? When he's going over there and he's being that ass kicker and, he's getting into the face of, Suzuki and whatnot, and that's a totally different, that's the John Moxley independent crazy guy. And then sometimes on AEW Dynamite, I see Dean Ambrose. I don't see John Moxley. So yeah. I tend to agree with that statement that you make, that he kind of wrestled more of a traditional pro wrestling style on Dynamite. So the match itself ends afterwards. We get an invasion, if you will, or an attack by the Inner Circle. So here's what I don't like about it. So from a blocking perspective, I didn't like the fact that Mox was what you would consider stage right or to the left of the ring from the viewer. He could have easily slipped out of the ring and gone back to the kind of up the ramp and got out of there. Because the way Hager, Pride and Powerful, and Jericho came out when the lights were up, is they're on the opposite side of the ring with him. So, I mean, Mox easily could have had the wherewithal to be like, dude, there's 4-on-1. I'm getting the hell out of here. I'm getting in the car and I'm taking off. And I don't think that would have been bad to do. So I just thought that was a little weird how they appeared up. It kind of killed the realism for me. It took me out of the moment of the scene because I was just like, well, the logic is why doesn't Mox just get the fuck out of there? Why is he going to go in? He knows he's got nobody in the back and the announcers put that over. He's got nobody in the back who's going to come out and support him. So if you got nobody in the back who's going to come out and support him, why are you going to pick this battle right now with the 4 guys? Get in the car and get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you think?
I'll explain to you why he did that. A strong babyface knows that they always move forward. This is something Darby will do later in the match. And the Jon Moxley character is willing to take an ass whipping. So I think he was more trying to protect his character. It would have been smarter to run away from the fight and get the hell out of there. But I think he was protecting his character. He's like, oh, fuck, I see all of them. I might get my ass kicked, but I'm going down swinging. So I think that's what he tried to sell on that. I get your point completely, but knowing the industry the way that I do, kind of like Steve Austin, Stone Cold's never going to run away from a fight. I think he was trying to do along those same lines.
Could they have done something then either where Mox was just all Mox needed to be was just positioned to the other side of the ring? That's all I'm saying. Then he could have done that.
Circled him. He should have been in the center and they were all around.
That's another thing I was going to bring up too. Lights could have came back and each one of them could have been on the side of the ring coming up. That
each corner.
Of each corner. So that to me made more sense. It was just the blocking. The little things kind of took me out of the moment there. If they had just been switched, if he had been on the opposite right side of the ring and you got the 4 guys blocking the entrance for him to leave and get out of there, totally. That's just, my perspective. But other than that, I liked what happened, though, as far as in the segment itself. I liked the fact that Jericho pulled the spike out of his jacket and, went at Moxley to try and take him out of this number 1 contender match for next week. I like that the refs actually got some stoppage in there, even though they haven't been showcased maybe the best from their rules and their leisure, as far as being lenient on the talent. They got in there, they stopped it. They didn't have to send any crazy wrestlers out or any, crazy agents. It was just the referees getting, taking control of the action. And then I liked the post when they came back from commercial and Jericho cut that promo, when the interview person caught up with him and he cut some, funny, witty lines. Mox is not even going to be able to see now and took a nice little jab at Cena there, the underlying thing. He can't see us. I liked that, the actual content itself. What did you think of that whole, progression of sequences there?
I liked it. It's old school. It was the Dusty Rhodes spot with the Road Warriors that got him fired from TBS or demoted from his booking position, whatever happened. I don't remember the exact story. And as it's happening, this is the brilliance of Jericho as a performer. As it's happening, I immediately understood the symbolism of eye for an eye. Then when we go back to the promo, Jericho vocalizes eye for an eye. It was smart. It was done well. It was good. 4 guys beat up Moxley. He doesn't stand a chance. It didn't hurt Moxley. But what popped me at the end of that whole ordeal was as they're walking away, Sammy, while still selling, turning around, telling the announcer, hey, hit me up. So that was just Sammy being awesome. One of my favorite characters. I don't know how he became Superman and the best wrestler in AEW overnight to combat Jon Moxley and take 70% of the match, but I'm digging Sammy Guevara.
Not only that, when he came out for the match initially, he even kind of flirted with the beach life girl chick. I don't know if you caught that. He was kind of looking over at her like, hey, what's up, girl? Hit me up. So I like that. He's definitely playing his character really well. He seems to have a good idea of who he is as far as character wise goes. He's definitely playing that young millennial, cocky, suave type man that, with given the opportunity, he can perform in the ring as well. So after that, as we mentioned now, Mox is, he's taken to the back. He's out of, the scene as well. So, Jericho leaves, they're taking off now. So now backstage we've got, okay, no, I'm sorry. So next up we have MJF. They did go. They went backstage. They're showing DDP warming up. They're showing MJF walking through the hallways. He's getting ready for his match. And, we see the Pac potentially looking at Darby Allin's skateboard. That kind of gets cut off because they go right to the ring action where we've got.
Yeah, I didn't understand what Pac was doing. It was a little weird.
I thought, is he going to break the skateboard? What's he going to do with it? And then they definitely cut him off there. So we got the Blade, the Butcher with MJF taking on the Bunny. And with the Bunny taking on Dustin Rhodes, QT Marshall, and it's me, DDP. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Bang.
Bang. I liked this match. I thought there was some good stuff in here. Tony Schiavone and Jim Ross did an amazing job on commentary in this match for me personally. The way they being over the fact that they were there when they saw Dustin's first match ever and him winning Rookie of the Year, and that's how he got the natural. Them putting over DDP's history of wrestling and how he got into it late, and he just continued to excel. Even putting over the fact that while they don't like MJF itself, he's still one of the best rising young talents that's currently available. So I thought Tony Schiavone and JR did a great job in this match, having me stay focused and bringing attention to all the competitors in the match. The ending of this match, we see DDP comes with a dive off the top rope to the floor, takes out everyone. Marshall's back in the ring, loses track of the legal man, and MJF rolls him up for the victory. So the winner of this match is we see MJF, the Butcher, and the Blade kind of getting that, out of nowhere victory. In this match, I thought it worked well because they hadn't been doing it all night. It wasn't every match. Worked well for the slime ball that is MJF having to, do whatever it takes to get the victory. What did you think of this 6-man bout?
Well, and you left out one of the most important notes is that MJF had a shirt made that said, "I banged Dallas's daughter."
He did have a shirt that said, "I banged Dallas."
I loved it. I thought it was a really fun match, and I've got a lot of insight I want to throw in on this.
Go for it.
So we get the heels walking out. One funny note that if you noticed throughout the match, if you were paying attention, as MJF's coming out, there's his name, Maxwell Jacob Friedman, on the screen, and JR says, "And there he is, Matthew Jacob Friedman," which I just found as a funny note, and it's literally on the Titantron. So that was interesting. And then for the entrances on the baby side, we had QT come out, and then we had Dustin. When Dustin came out, he just has such this poise, like how we talked about last week, and the potential angle that could be a top drawing angle with Dustin. He just has such poise to him. He reminds me of John Wayne. So to our younger listeners that don't know who John Wayne, when your grandparents or maybe your parents were young, he was like the American cowboy. He was the one killing all the bad guys in the cowboy movies. He was just that old Southern badass. And we're getting that vibe with Dustin. So just by him walking to the ring, he looked like a badass. I really appreciated that. As we dig into the match, I thought it was a very, very good usage of a legend. It was a little bit weird. I'm not going to get on here and tell Dallas Page how to work, or anything like that. It was a little weird in the beginning that he started with MJF, and MJF had this shirt that says, "I banged your daughter," and Dallas didn't go right for his throat trying to knock him out. That traditionally, at least the way I've been taught and the way I would work the match, is that he would have went for broke, and maybe MJF would have scurried out and tagged out or whatever. There was no physicality there, so the whole match built to Dallas getting his hands on MJF, so it was all fine and dandy. But let's talk about the best part of this match, which was the hottest tag in AEW Dynamite history. Now, we've discussed this ad nauseum, how a lot of the tags we see are cold tags or not very hot tags. It's because a lot of the performers don't understand the dynamics of building an American-style tag and hot tag the way Dustin does. Dustin would do a little bit, sell, drop. At one point when he was in there working with MJF, and JR called him another name, I think he called him Michael Joseph Friedman or something, not his name. They did something, but MJF was cutting the ring off. MJF was between Dustin and Dustin's partners to make the tag, which is heel 101. That's how it should be done. And there was so much drama. He didn't get to the tag right away. There was these ups and downs. So once that tag got made to Page, the place erupted. Part of that, yes, I'll be honest, is the nostalgia of seeing DDP. But I think just as equally viable is that it was built the right way. DDP comes in, runs wild. He does some cool little spots, hits his diamond cutter. MJF gets his ball shot in while the ref's not looking, winds up getting Canadian Destroyer. Dustin's on a Canadian Destroyer kick. He did the old Peter Williams special off the second rope. Finally, bang, DDP hits the cutter on MJF. Looks like the finish. The heels break it up. Cool. They went into this big dive sequence. Page got a huge pop. Bless him, at 60, whatever he is, jumping off the top, brother. I thought that was cool. And MJF stealing the win at the end. It was fun. And I think other promotions such as WWE should take note. I think that is a really good usage of a legend. He didn't necessarily kill the new guys, but he got his stuff in and everyone was protected. WWE tends to kind of, when they bring the legends, they usually will have them kind of get their asses whipped. Like, let's go back to the Baron Corbin, Kurt Angle retirement match, shit like that. When the New Age Outlaws came in, they were getting beaten like a drum. So I thought that was the perfect usage of a legend.
Or they put him in the main event of Saudi Arabia, right? That's what WWE does.
Yeah, or that. And MJF selling, bro, was off the hook. That might have been the best MJF performance on Dynamite yet. From his, his swagger to his matches, the way he took that moonsault bump. Shawn Michaels takes, like, when he does that run the head into the buckle, Shawn Michaels will take like a little spiral bump. But fucking MJF's the only one I ever seen take a moonsault bump out of Page, bashing his head in the corner. So he was working his ass off. MJF's selling was on point. He was on fire. Great, great, great performance by MJF last night.
That's right, Pilgrim. Life is tough, but it's tougher when you're stupid. John Wayne. Right. But the as far as the match, what did you think? Wardlow was in this match, right?
Mm-hmm. No, he was on the floor.
Oh, he was on the floor. Okay, yep. So that's why that's correct. So yeah, that's why you were making your case and point. Why is his first match going to be a cage match? Let's talk about that. That he can't lose. Do you think AEW, maybe this is just a random thought. Do you think this is going to be AEW's first cage match? Do you expect to see a different style of cage? Something unique, something different.
I think it's going to be a callback to NWA. Okay. They might do something different, but I'm predicting the Jim Crockett looking steel cage.
Jim Crockett. Okay. I mean, that could be cool. We haven't seen it in a while.
Let's talk about that a little bit, though. I like how MJF has that group with Wardlow, and I really hope they protect him, much like the Midnight Express did with Big Bubba Rogers. There was a notorious spot where I think it was Dusty broke a wooden chair over Big Bubba Rogers' head, and Bubba pulled it off, pulled his hat off, no-sold it, turned around, and fucking decked Dusty Rhodes. Just that one spot got Bubba over tremendously. So I'd like to see MJF. Here's another angle idea. I'd like to see him kind of start like a heel version of Bruce Wayne Enterprises, like Friedman Enterprises, with MJF as the leader, obviously, and the rich kid. He's got his muscle there. And I want to see them make Butcher and Blade a little bit stronger, because in this match, they were just bump guys. Pepper Parks did so good, man. The Blade, he was flying around. Everything was perfect. I think the Butcher has a great look. But they're just kind of taking too many bumps and they've been beaten already. I want to see them kept a little bit stronger. And you can almost get, I won't compare these guys to the Horsemen because it's not a fair comparison, but they could almost have that vibe. If they protect Wardlow enough, he could be the strong big guy. The Butcher and Blade could be the strong tag team, and MJF could be the top single star. So I'd like to see him do something like that, maybe Friedman Enterprises, and who knows? Maybe in a few weeks we'll see that debut on AEW.
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of doing that rich boy, faction, if you will, with MJF and MLW. He's part of Dynasty with Richard Holiday and Alexander Hammerstone. So they kind of play that whole lifestyles of the rich and dynastic. That's kind of like their shtick over there. So he has the ability to bring that style of character. I think it would be interesting if he had some sort of, Justice League style, not even Justice League, but Suicide Squad almost, right?
Yeah.
He can have, that type of squad itself, because he's got the different, characters he's surrounding himself with that, they're potentially larger than life, right? You've got, the Butcher at the Blade, you've got, with this Wardlow guy. So he's not surrounding himself with just traditional wrestlers itself. These guys have the potential to be, over the top and surreal or super real, if you will. But yeah, I agree. I think, more MJF in a dominant figure role with the faction, because it doesn't really seem like Butcher and Blade are in his faction right now.
Right.
They're more like hired help, right?
Sure.
So it definitely would, be cool to see him more if they were, maybe sitting around a round table or something, discussing what's next for the corporation.
And there's a darker element to it, which is why I made the Gotham, analysis
Right.
of it, or analogy, because the Butcher and Blade are dark. Wardlow's kind of a dark character. I could even see MJF kind of borrowing a little bit from the $1 Million Man, paying people to do humiliating things. Just imagine MJF doing something similar where he calls a member of the crowd in and humiliates them for $500 or whatever it is. And him doing that promo to lick his foot or whatever it is, like so much gold, so much potential with that kind of thing. I think it'd be another cool touch to add.
So after this, I'm going to give AEW credit for something. They, put some anticipation between these two teams who are friends. You have the AEW World Tag Team Champions SCU. They're asked about their upcoming match against Omega and Page, and then a drunk Page rolls up, interrupts them, gets some of his drink on Daniels. Champions don't appreciate that. Omega calms him down, says, he's looking forward to their match. Hangman drunkenly blurts out, "I'm going to whip both your asses." That popped me. I like this. This is a BTE segment and they put it on TV. So I'm going to give them credit. I liked it.
I loved it. I liked the drunk Page stuff. It was perfect. It showed the dynamic between his relationship with Kenny. It was funny. He told me he was going to whip their ass. It was like a real drunk guy. Like he tried to be nice for a minute, then got a little too aggressive, pulled back, and then ended with, "I'm still going to whip your ass." It's like your drunk buddy at the bar that's like 1 minute, "Man, I love you so much." And then the next minute, "Oh, fuck you." And then, "Oh, I love you. I'm just kidding." Then he gets in a fight with somebody. So it was perfect.
Yeah, I really like this. So I'm going to give them credit. More of this, AEW. Please continue to provide more of this, as it definitely adds story elements. Just simple things. It was just 3-4 minutes. It wasn't crazy. You didn't have to go out on set somewhere. Just something simple that led something to more interest to next week's bout between SCU and Hangman and Omega on the boat. Now we've got our main event. We've got Pac versus Darby Allin. Winner goes on to take on Mox. At this point in the night, we didn't even know, though, if Mox was going to be a part of this bout, because the way they were talking about it through the commentary, and the way Jericho was saying it was the Mox is out now. He's not going to be in this match. So, even Jericho, I think he finished his promo and said, as far as he's concerned, the winner of this Pac versus Darby Allin match is going to face me in 2 weeks. Revolution. So at this point, we think Mox is out of it, but this was a pretty quick paced match to start. Pac came out with the tilt-a-whirl backbreaker, goes out to the floor. Allin followed him out there. They go back and forth, getting back and forth in the ring. He hits a suicide dive, throws him to the barricade, catches him, launches him to the steel steps. Darby Allin, of course, looked really good in this match. Pac looked really good in this match. I think at one point Darby Allin, said, I will do anything not to go back to the life I live, came off with that coffin drop. But the tail end of the match, we see Pac downing Allin. Pac talks some trash, eats a punch. There goes for a tricky pin attempt, a fall attempt. And then Pac hits a sit-down powerbomb. Very close 3 count, goes back up top, hits the Black Arrow, and covers for a victory. So the winner of this match was Pac. Overall, I thought it was a good match. I thought Pac and Darby Allin worked really well together. I think Darby Allin really sells well when he's in the ring, personally. What did you think of the match before we get to the fallout?
I really, really like the match a lot. I want to get in a little bit of the backstory, however, before we discuss that. Is it just me, because I know you follow everything close, is it just me, or has Jon Moxley been announced as the number 1 contender for the last few months now?
Yeah, that's what was a little bit with my confusion going into the new year, is he was ranked number 1. So and
they're building to a match with him and Jericho, which is why Jericho offered him to be in the club, so he didn't have to have the match, right? Right,
exactly. That's how the mindset I thought as well. But they didn't technically say he's the number 1 contender. They've been saying he's ranked number 1 as far as an opportunity.
But doesn't number 1 rank mean number 1 contender, like what happened with Statlander, why she got the title shot?
I mean, yes and no. If you look at the tag team division, according to AEW rules, I believe Pride and Powerful were ranked number 1. But they're, but going into tonight's match, and then they had this 4-way, right? And Hangman and Omega won. So, I mean, because the prior to that, before, the Bucks were number 1, and they did get their title shot because they were ranked number 1. So since they've come back from the new year and they've reset the rankings and they reset the standings, it's kind of like they've kind of gone away from what they were initially set forth to the fans, that was going to be the focal point, standings and rankings. Now it's kind of like, well, the rankings are there. They're going to influence these matches. And I think that's kind of what they're going off of now.
So fair enough. We discussed previously, they had a lot of logic holes, like just weird things. Well, why are people doing this? And to their credit, they're improving a lot of those. I've been watching wrestling for 36 years and it confused me. So there's something that could have been improved with that. So maybe they can just, again, go back to that quality assurance person and run it through and make sure it's palatable so everyone understands. The same with the beginning match. I didn't understand what the stakes were for or the rules. So they do need to continue to work on that to get it perfected. The match I really dug, we were talking about last week how a smaller wrestler should work like they're a big man. Darby Allin has no fear. He came out to the ring. He never backed up for a second. The same reason I explained to you why Moxley had to stay in the ring and take that ass kicking. He came forward the whole time, which is what a great babyface does. You see a lot of lesser experience or independent wrestlers as a babyface retreating from the heel. It's an old school tactic that as long as you're moving forward, you're always going to be the fighter and get the people on your side. What I like about Darby is his offense is unique. It's crisp, and everything he does is a little different. Like he did a suicide dive, but he did it in Darby's way. So it looked different to everyone else's suicide dive. He did the big coffin drop to the floor. Pac did a great job of catching him. He fought. But at the end, it was too much for him. Darby even got bloody. He got his ass whooped. He got thrown on his head and neck. But Pac, the bigger, more experienced competitor, got it in the end. And I think Pac is a great opponent for Darby because say what you want about the WWE system, I think there Pac really learned the art of slowing down the pace of a match and telling a story and stretching it out. So you notice there was a lot of selling in this match. It was the polar opposite to the first match we saw. Yes, there was some crazy stuff, but Pac dictated the pace and it was slow and it built. So when something cool happened, just like Dustin Rhodes' hot tag, when you build and take your time, you get a big reaction. So I think the loss didn't hurt Darby. I probably, if I was booking, I don't want to be an armchair quarterback. I maybe wouldn't have had Darby take another loss, but I think he's still going to be okay and people are still going to like him because he looked like a tough little son of a bitch. But I have some more I want to discuss on Darby, but I want you to hop in on this.
Yeah, I mean, I like Darby Allin a lot. Darby Allin is from here in my state of Washington where I live. So I've seen Darby on the indies for the last couple years. I got to call one of his last appearances he made this year at Without a Cause here in Washington. So I do really genuinely like Darby. I think what I'd like for them to do with Darby Allin, or in any case, if you know your main event, I want that to be showcased throughout the show. They need to thread that a little bit more. There could have been maybe a video package of Darby Allin with the show tonight. They tried to do something with Pac, which we mentioned, but it got cut off. So they really didn't showcase these two talents heading into the main event. That was my only, I guess, complaint about this.
That's a good point. I don't remember even seeing a graphic that they would be fighting. Did they do so much as a graphic?
Maybe at the beginning of the night.
Yeah,
that was about it.
So here's one thing I want to give to Darby Allin, though. We dished out a little bit of advice last week. So this is coming from a guy who's taken a lot of bumps and done a lot of things. There is what's called a bump card. And Darby's not going to want to hear this. I didn't want to hear it. Most wrestlers, when they're young, don't want to hear it. And they say, fuck that. Darby's 23 years old. I remember being a 23-year-old wrestler. Our styles were very similar, but I was doing this 15 years before he stepped in the ring. I was doing those crazy bumps. I was doing moonsaults off of steel cages, jumping off roofs, the craziest of crazy shit.
They're on Ben Hamin's YouTube. You can go check it out, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. And that was even before I met Hamin, once I got to OVW and learned how to work. But nothing hurt in the ring for me until around 22. Literally, I just thought I could take any bump and do whatever I wanted. But eventually, it starts catching up with you. The moment in particular it caught up with me in a dingy bar show, I took a powerbomb off of a stage through a table that was on the floor. And it wasn't that big of a drop. The stage was maybe 4 foot up through the table, so I didn't think anything bad. I fucked my back up, and my buddy said I carried me home. I was out for a few months. That was my first back injury, and that was at 22 years old. So for the rest of my career, that followed me, and I would have continual flare-ups of back injury. When I was performing full-time for a while, I had a very, very bad back. I've had a lot of injections. I've seen every spinal doctor. I've spent thousands of dollars. That one bump caught up with me. Darby, so far, they haven't caught up with him, but he does some crazy shit, and it looks great. And part of his character is he doesn't have regard, and it's cool. I love the package, but I want to see Darby start being a little more careful and taking a little bit more calculated risks. Maybe you do one of those bumps once or twice a year, but he doesn't need to be doing it every week on TV. In this particular match, he didn't do anything gratuitously nuts, thankfully. But I would want to give Darby that advice, man, as you're young. Trust me, bro. I did all that shit. I was your age. I think you're a fucking awesome performer. It's going to catch up to you. Protect your bumps. Every wrestler, aspiring wrestler out there, protect your bumps, protect your body. Seeing as somebody who's now retired, once this is gone, you got nothing. You can't get back in there. So just protect yourself.
Yeah, definitely agree. We want to see, wrestlers have the longest careers possible, right? Longevity, make the most money they can, and move on, because it's not going to last forever, as you pointed out about Baron Corbin at the beginning of the show. After the show, after this match, something that I liked that they did is they paid off the Mox thing, or at least get a little bit of a payoff. We didn't go off the air wondering what happened with Mox, or didn't assume that Pac, was going to be the number one contender. I think if Vince Russo watched it this week, and he'll probably talk about something, they did something with Mox. They gave us a resolution as far as him getting stabbed in the eye, because Mox comes out at the end after Tony Schiavone is talking with Pac. He goes to ask a question about Pac. Pac tells him that he should just go ahead and congratulate him, name him the number one contender, because what has happened to Mox is going to, keep him from the match, prevent him. Tells Chris Jericho, I'm coming for you. And then we do go backstage where Mox is being loaded into an ambulance with his eye covered, gets out of the ambulance, walks towards the stage, gets on the microphone and tells Pac, it ain't going down like that, brother. I don't care if I'm blind or if I only have one eye. I will be there next week. And that's how we went off the air. I thought it was a great way to go off the air, build suspense and drama for the number one contender match next week. Mox is showing, that craziness about him. Nothing's going to keep me away from, getting what I want. What did you think of how they ended the show?
Awesome. And that was another thing I think Pac developed during his time with WWE. He's a good promo. He's a good heel promo. I love Tony Schiavone being that guy. I've been a big fan of Schiavone's work. Call me nostalgic, maybe. I don't know if it's that or if he's just been hitting home runs. But Tony did great there. Then it brought me back to the Attitude Era, which, hey, bro, most of the fans out there buying these tickets, the core audience is about our age or maybe a few years younger. So they've seen this shit. They want that exciting shit. So taking it back to the ambulance reminded me of like something you would have seen Steve Austin do in 1997. Then Mox being that badass, getting out with blood on his eye, coming out. And they protected him because he came out and said, no, I'm going to fight you if I'm blind. But he didn't look like a bitch for backing away, which is what I explained earlier, because they had all these people there preventing the physicality. So it protected Mox. It got him over as a badass. The crowd was into it. Great job. Good ending. Exciting. Home run. This atmosphere that we saw on this show is what wrestling fans like. If that other promotion that has a Monday and Friday show gave a little bit more of what today's wrestling fans like with their group of talent that they have, my God, what a wonderful time in professional wrestling it would be for the fan. Home run on last night's AEW Dynamite, unequivocally.
To talk about Pac, something that I don't think maybe foreign wrestlers take into consideration is that at times to other listeners, their accents can come off as thick. No, Pac's got a very thick accent, but something he does so well is he slows it down. So when he slows it down, his speech, then it also adds emphasis on what he's saying. It gets you to pay attention more. So at that point, the accent doesn't even effing matter. It adds that, what's the look? The variety that is Pac. He doesn't sound like a traditional person who's coming out there and cutting their promo. I'm going to beat you up. He's got his own unique style to it. And I think a lot of foreign wrestlers should maybe take note of that it's okay to slow down that dialect, because the American viewer is not as easily trained. Their ear isn't as easily trained, if you will, to pick up on the nuances of your language. I mean, Is that fair to say?
Oh, absolutely. And I've worked extensively in the UK and had UK wrestlers that have come to America to work with me. He's a good promo. He slows down. He enunciates. You think it's actually him. And a lot of the UK wrestlers aren't as sharp on promos as the Americans because it wasn't as big part of their wrestling culture as it is here. For generations in America, we would talk people into the building. They did their stuff by showmanship in the ring and a different in-ring style. So that's some of the criticisms you might get from American fans on some parts of the Brit wrestling scene. But yeah, I definitely recommend that. And I want to touch, as we wrap up our Dynamite review, I want to touch in on the Monday Night War. So, Matt, as you're aware, there is another, Wednesday Night War. As you're aware, there is another AEW review show that happens to come out weekly. And it happens to be hosted by a gentleman you may have heard of by the name Vinny Root.
Oh, yeah.
And PJ Polacco, formerly Just Incredible. And they claimed last week, this was told to me by a very reputable source, they claimed that they have the best AEW review show. I claim that we do. So now you got beef with AEW and NXT. Well, Russo brand, guess what, brother? You got some beef with Silvio and MSG. You want to bring the challenge onto us? Well, hey, let me say I officially accept and let the Wednesday Night Wars truly begin. What do you say, MSG?
So let's bring it on. The Wednesday night podcast wars are on. In all honesty, I tried with Bello. He watches NXT. We tried to do our own inter-competition here within the brand, but the facts remain that both listeners of the show listen to both shows, so there really wasn't like too much of an influx in downloads. It's pretty even across the board. But Vince Russo, PJ Polanco, bro, you want to come at us, bro? Well, I got you right here, bro. Italian stallion too, okay? I'll get in there with you. We'll have Silvio Polanco do the wrestling. Me and you can talk back and forth. AEW show. Everybody can be over. But yes, I think we have I think we've got the best AEW show on review show right now on the podcast airwaves. Last thing I do want to bring up, because I wanted to bring up, and I brought it up yesterday with Ben, so I'm glad that I can now bring it up with you. Brian Cage apparently has signed with AEW. There's some allegedly some back and forth. Now I want to go on the record here, and I'm going to say that I 100% believe that he has signed with AEW. That's based upon my source, who is like a good friend with Brian Cage, who texts back and forth, like interviewed him when he was scrawny, right? So like they've had that relationship, and he's already confirmed to me that he's signed. Whether, the spot got blown, right? They wanted
he being your mutual friend, not he being Brian Cage, to clarify.
Correct. My mutual friend is a friend of Brian Cage.
Careful with those he's just throwing
You're
them
correct.
Around.
No, that's a good point. My source, my friend, is a great friend with Brian Cage, and he has shown me, those conversations that he's, going to be going there. So I believe that Brian Cage is there now. It sounds like the spot was blown, right? Because you got Melissa Santos going on Twitter. He hasn't signed yet, and I'm his wife. I don't even know this. You've got reports going back and forth that he hasn't signed. He's also injured now for the next 4 to 6 months. I mean, what do you think of this whole thing? What do you think of Brian Cage?
Good get. I like Brian Cage. The only thing, there are a few things that I didn't like about his work. Mainly having to do with some of the ways he worked intergender matches. But he's a great athlete, great performer. I love him. I'd sign him in a heartbeat. I don't think, due to his look, WWE is probably going to touch him because he does have that bodybuilder physique, which WWE has been trying to distance themselves from for quite some time now.
Why? Why is that? I mean, you worked for them, so why have they tried to distance themselves from that?
I don't know what Brian Cage does. I don't know how he trains. I don't know what supplements he takes.
Okay.
However, a lot of viewers might look at him and throw the S word around. So I think perhaps, I don't know if he's on anything or it's not my business. He looks great. He does great. But if you've noticed, they don't have many people on their roster that look like Brian Cage. So I think maybe that might have been the hesitation as far as WWE bringing him back. I don't know. Could be wrong. But I think it's a great get for AEW. He's a fantastic performer. I think he could go straight to the top. In 5 years, he could be top baby, top heel, whatever they want. Great get. I hope he signs. Hope he gets healthy soon. I dig Brian Cage's work. He's awesome. I tried to book him once on one of my shows, but it just didn't work out. Great guy. Great talent.
My hope would be that if Brian Cage is signed with AEW, he's going to be there. That the veterans, get in his ear. The Arn Anderson, the Tully Blanchard, Chris Jericho. dude, you're a monster. You're a big man. You don't need to work like a cruiserweight.
Yes.
You need to
Those would be
preserve
my
that
critiques of
your
him.
body, right? You need to preserve that body. You're getting injured. There's an influx of injuries he's had over the last years based upon the style he's been going at, right? His bump card is being stamped hard right now. And so he needs to pull back and reevaluate how he's wrestling, in my opinion.
No, you're right.
And if he's a machine, if they make him this powerhouse big man machine, he can stand there and take the luchador moves and they can make him look powerful. Like, they don't even affect him, right? So there's a way to even build him up, to where he doesn't even need to have these 5-star Meltzer matches every week. But I agree. I think he cuts a great promo. He's got a good look. And, as far as if you look at the AEW division himself, no one looks like Brian Cage.
Not even close.
He would definitely stand out. But that's it, ladies and gentlemen, right here for another edition of Light the Fuse. I guess as long as that's the name of our show, we don't know if AEW's trademarking the show. I think
we know they've been taking some shine to us lately.
Can we trademark the show? Should we get on that? Should we?
I think so. Cody might beat us to us. He's been a whiz with the trademarking lately.
But you have delved now into Patreon. Tell us a little bit about that, Mr. Silvio. You spent a good amount of time setting all this up. What's your plans here?
I've got some exciting plugs before we go off the air. For the last few years, I've been operating a company called Chris Silvio's Superstar Seminars, where I've literally traveled the world hosting live seminars and training camps. And I was the innovator. I was the first coach in pro wrestling to do webinars. This is something I learned years ago when I worked in the corporate world. We would sign up to do these webinars, AKA it's a seminar that you view online.
Go to meeting.
Right? Yeah, it goes to a big meeting, you check it out. So I thought, why not bring that to pro wrestling where I can work with thousands of people instead of dozens of people? And I'm really starting to figure out the bugs to that. So I'm happy to announce right now I'm in the process of creating a subscription site. It's going to be the first of its kind. So basically what training wrestlers or active wrestlers will be able to do is they'll be able to sign up for different tiers, where they'll be able to watch live coaching sessions. They'll be able to get lectures. They'll have access to some of the previous webinars I've done. And the premium memberships, which is the one that I'm hoping you get, because obviously it helps me pay the bills. But those are going to give you access to watch live seminars that I do. For instance, I got a seminar coming up with UK legend Marty Jones. So if you sign up for the premium, you'll get the footage of that exact entire seminar. So you get knowledge from Marty Jones and all these different people that sit in with me. You'll be able to view all that. And for the non-subscribers, we're going to have an option where you can purchase an individual session, individual lesson. If you just, let's say you just want to get better at promos and you want to pay $10 to take the promo course. Awesome. And then I'll be interacting with all of my patrons, answering any questions they have. We also just launched last night the awesome new Patreon site for my lady, the very talented pro wrestler and power lifter, Jenna Van Muscles, who's going to be making her Evolve pre-show debut this weekend, Saturday night. Check her out. She's one of the hottest rising names in wrestling, freak athlete, great wrestler. It's going to be patreon.com/Van Muscles. My subscription training site, Superstar Seminars, will be up very soon, hopefully by the time we record next week. So I'm just super excited for all that, man. Killer content. I'm ready to take the world on, brother.
Something that just popped into my head that I think that maybe you should look into in the future down the line. You know, I went back to school here within the last year, and a lot of stuff we did online classes and courses, right? Especially like psychology. They take, different seminars and lectures from different universities, and we'd learn different things. I'm sure you're aware OVW is going to be launching a school. That might be something you should, pitch to them as a course catalog, giving their students their access, for one flat fee right over the course of a semester. And maybe that you get a full class from Chris Silvio. That might be something you could partner with Al down the line on, because it looks like they're moving into that direction and making it an accredited school. They became the first pro wrestling accredited school. Everything happens down at OVW, ladies and gentlemen. That's where it all starts, right here on HackerHamin.podbean.com, because everybody's learning from Rip and Al. And if you learn from them, well, sky's the limit, so.
And don't forget Jim Cornette. He was part of it too.
And Jim Cornette, of course, may be controversial, but it has a genius mind for the business. I definitely enjoy.
Crazy bastard. I love him, but he's fucking nuts.
Yeah, I like listening to his podcast. He's funny. It's entertaining, man. But that's it for me. I mean, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, guys, at Matthew_Schaffer. You can check out the Monday, the Wednesday, the Friday Locker Room, the Infinite Fringe, the Conspiracy Horseman, Crow 777, Hamin, Stevie Richards broadcast, Hitting the Playoffs, New Force Order podcast, Impact Attack, Smack Attack, Film Frequency, Pro Wrestling Reflection podcast, the Horror Junkyard, Breaking Sal. I mean, I could go on and on here, guys.
Shit.
We've got like 15, 20 shows. So check us out, HackerHamin.podbean.com. Check out our boys, Voices of Misery, every Sunday. And yeah, I think that's it. This fuse is out. Throw the water on it. We're done.
Done. We out. Peace, motherfuckers.
Peace.